What is happening? And welcome to your Thursday Night Delight. I, of course, am one of your co-hosts, Sean the Right Way, and joining me, as always, is the badass, Brent from Brent's Bricks. And tonight we are joined by a very, very special guest. Rich Boy Jhae himself blesses our program because tonight we are a couple of brickheads. And I hope this is okay with you, Rich Boy. I feel like we're also a couple of boyos.
Absolutely.
Wanted to make sure we hit that. There you go. Jay, welcome to the show. So great to have you. We've been trying to schedule you for a while. I appreciate your time. I know you're a very, very busy man, both inside the Lego scene and outside of it. And just thanks a ton, man, for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking with you guys. And glad we could finally get this together for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Brent,
Sean.
what's happening?
Oh, dude. You know, gearing up for the holiday season, man. Today I had I cooked up some steaks, watched the Santa Claus. I mean, can you do Christmas any better than that? Sitting by the tree, watching Santa Claus, eating steaks?
No, man, it's pretty much all downhill from here. So what are you going to do for the rest of the month? Like,
oh, you know, there's two other Santa Claus movies, you know, Polar Express. There's too many Christmas bangers to watch, you know. Gearing up for the season, you know.
There you go. There you go. Jay, what have you been up to lately?
Well, I was at work like right before this, so school is kind of winding down. I have a couple finals to finish, so school, work, and trying to get back on a regularly uploading schedule on my YouTube channel. I've dropped like 3 to 4 videos back to back for the first time in a very long time. So just trying to get back into the groove, trying to figure out how to balance things and be the best possible person I can be in every facet of my life.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, and that's impressive.
Goals.
With school and work. I mean, like work for me and like, you know, dad life, you know, is hard to balance that with uploading. You know, there's times where, you know, I don't upload for like 5 days and I start like sweating and like itching. I'm like, dude, everyone's gonna think I died. I haven't uploaded in like 5 days.
No, it really does feel like that. And I mean, I hate to be the guy who's like, oh, my life is so hard, I have to make videos on the internet for money. But it is a lot of pressure. Like when you develop a following, people expect you to be there and expect you to make content, and when you don't, like, it's a definite real thing that you feel.
Right. Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean,
and everybody says consistency. And consistency is key in this game, right? I mean, you got to come with it, not just consistency when you get to a certain level, but it's got to be quality and consistent, right? And so that's where the pressure sort of mounts.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, guys. So where to begin? There's so much to talk about. I feel like it's almost a little played out in the news cycle, Jay, but I wanted to hear your own opinions of this this new AT-AT, only because obviously you've made that one. Let's be honest, like flat out comparisons to your AT. I'm going to take a different spin. I'm not asking you to review the AT-AT. I think, you know, I'm sure we all agree it's pretty awesome, but like from your perspective as someone who can actually model and build these things, like what's your review like from your perspective?
I think it is easily one of the best Lego Star Wars sets ever made.
Agreed.
I think Lego really went above and beyond to give us a comprehensive model of the AT-AT. I think that the interior is one of those things that, especially for a UCS set, they really didn't have to do it. I think if Lego just made a big AT-AT and it just looked good, I think people would have been more than happy with that. I think that the fact that it has basically a full interior is just, it is above and beyond what they had to do to make that set. So I give them a lot of props for that. And I mentioned this in where I was talking about this specific set. As far as I know, this is the only like minifig scale, somewhat large scale set they've made for Star Wars that truly does have a full interior. You look at sets like the Millennium Falcon, for example, that has maybe like a half interior.
Right.
I think of other sets like the Imperial Shuttle, for example. I have one sitting up there that just has the cockpit. It doesn't have like the back troop area.
Right.
But there are no shortcuts or compromises when it comes to that AT interior. It is a full-fledged interior, and I give Lego lots of points for doing that.
Yeah.
Cool. Any cons on the set? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, to Jay's point, when you compare it to the other two big dogs in the UCS world, the Falcon, I've built it. It's really just got 2 rooms, if you can call them full rooms, or more so 2 sections of rooms, and then the cockpit. And then, the Star Destroyer has no interior at all. So when it comes down to it, I think in terms of, dubbing it as one of the best, if not the best Star Wars set ever made, you really can't argue against it. I mean, it checks all the boxes.
Absolutely.
For the most part.
And just to get into some cons real quick, and this is one thing I noticed right off the bat, and I feel like the more and more I look at it, it's more and more apparent to me. The only thing that visually for me is just off about the set are the legs. They're just way too chunky for what they should look like. Like if you look at a photo of any AT-AT, the legs are like shockingly narrow for the big bulky body. And I understand why the legs are as big as they are, given the fact that the knees and hips, so to speak, are articulated, which I'm honestly not even sure is really necessary. I think if it came down to me, I would rather have the legs be kind of set in place if it meant that they could look more accurate and be more narrow. But the fact that the legs are hinged, I don't know. I mean, I get why they did it. Like, it's a cool thing. A lot of people talk about, like, legs can move.
Right.
But I feel when you have the knees bent on the AT-AT, it never really looks right. Like if you freeze frame like Empire Strikes Back and you're looking at an AT-AT, the legs are the only time the legs are really bent is when one of them is like lifting off the ground, and obviously you can't really display the AT-AT on 3 legs. So you're kind of forced, if one leg is bent, then all of them have to be bent. And it looks like an unnatural position for the walker because you would never see all the legs bent at one point. So I think that's kind of how I rationalize, like, maybe going with articulated legs wasn't the best possible idea. I know this is like a very niche thing and most people won't care. Most people will just be enamored with the fact that it's so big and the knees can move. But I would rather have the trade-off of having the legs look more accurate and be a little bit more slim.
Makes sense. And it really jumped out to me when you've seen the side-by-sides with the 2020 next to it. Like, people have done the side-by-side. And honestly, like, I still want one. Brent got one. That's awesome. But I have the 2020 and looking at it, I'm like, you know what? Like, it's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, it's
that
fine.
2021 is great. That 2021,
I think it's the best one they've made besides this. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
As far as for accuracy. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reinforcement on the hinges and the sort of girthy knees and legs on that guy is because the other ones have had failure points, right? Like the 2020, as great as that is, you're still hearing, and again, it could have been the builder, I'm not sure, but you hear that it's mine doesn't slink down, but you hear that the other one kind of has issues kind of toppling over. So maybe with all the weight, with the playset feature, there's so much more top heavy. Plus, they knew they were going to be doing an $800. They don't want outcry. This $800 set jumps off my shelf by itself. There could have been everything around it, but I hear you. Like it, but yeah, like kind of from a stickler standpoint. But for most people, I think the reviews have been pretty rave, right? Like the pros far outweigh the cons,
which is great, right? Isn't it awesome when we can all, as a community, come to a consensus about something we like and like celebrate it? Doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, and there's no minifigures that piss off half the community.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started on that.
We've definitely we've had a guest or two on to talk about the the gunship minifigures and kind of how you know, it might be a little, people look into it a little too much, you know, like sometimes you just got to sit back and enjoy that. Hey, the gunship is a great model, you know, of course it doesn't have your Jedi Bob and your Commander Cody and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty good gunship. I own it, so I mean, you know, I'm biased, but
so I mean, I don't know. Are we willing to get into the gunship discussion for a little bit? Do we have time for that?
Dude, what? Hey, man, floor is yours. Love to hear it.
Okay, look here. So here's the problem. Here's the thing that I've been stressing this since day one, and I want to preface this by saying the Republic gunship is just straight up like my favorite Star Wars vehicle ever. I mean, if it's not obvious, I got
right,
two of them
exactly
beside me.
Behind you.
I got the UCS one chilling right here. I got a third one sitting right here next to me. I got two more play sets. It's gunship heaven in this room right now. But this set was doomed to disappoint people the moment that we voted for it to be a UCS set. And I don't think people realize that. I don't think there was any world where Lego is going to make an oversized gunship where everyone was going to be happy. Surely you have your collectors out there who, you know, want, you know, a nice detailed model and they'll be happy with it. And the minifigures aren't that big of a drawing point. But if the minifigures are the most important part of you to a Republic gunship, then what you're asking for is a play scale gunship.
Exactly.
Because a UCS gunship was never going to have, you know, an insane array of minifigures because that's just not what it's for. And we've seen Lego do this when it comes to ships that are compatible with minifigures. For example, the Millennium Falcon or the UCS Sandcrawler. Lego packs in the minifigures because they're meant to coincide with the set. When you have things that aren't necessarily supposed to be integrated with minifigures, for example, the UCS Star Destroyer, the Snowspeeder, for example, you don't get those like minifigures because you're not really supposed to use those two things together. So, I mean, I foresaw the drama a long time ago. I knew that the moment, you know, it was announced it was going to be a UCS set, it was going to be oversized and it wasn't going to be, you know, the 2013 gunship with 7 awesome figures that people were hoping for. So, I think, and I don't know, like you have the, you know, the two big YouTubers campaigning like gunship gang guys, run a gunship. But I don't think they realize, like, I don't know, like half the 12-year-old, you know, 8 to 12-year-old kids who are screaming gunship gang aren't going to be able to afford it when it comes out.
Exactly.
So, like, I don't know, it's weird. I really do wish the community maybe had more foresight. And I say from both sides, right? I'm not saying it was a completely terrible decision. I think a lot of people voted with the intention of showing Lego, hey, we want prequel sets. And I get it from that perspective. But I don't know. I think maybe this wasn't the time. The Nebulon, in my opinion, would have made a much better UCS set.
Dude, the Nebulon would have been crazy.
It would have been great. It would have been
crazy to see.
You know, that we've never gotten before. Well, I mean, we've gotten like a small one at this point. Well, but at the time, we had never gotten it before.
Yeah.
And it would have been just much more fitting for a UCS set. I don't know, man. I wish people had more foresight to understand it. A lot of people heard gunship and they're like, oh, who brought gunship? But didn't really think about what that meant in practice. And like I said, I'm the biggest gunship fan in the world, but I understood like this maybe isn't going to be exactly what I want. So let me think about this a little bit more rationally.
Right. And I mean and like you said, like the Star Destroyer, it doesn't even have an interior. It's not built for minifigures. It came with like 2 Imperial officers, and you didn't really hear anybody rant and raving about like, why didn't this come with a exclusive Darth Vader and all this?
Right, yeah. Which I found weird because like, okay, so people were paying thousands of dollars for that Star Destroyer before Lego re-released it. And like no one cared about the fact that the original one didn't have an interior or didn't come with minifigures. They just wanted like a big, awesome Star Destroyer.
Right.
But I found it really weird whenever this one came out and people were like, where's the minifigures? And I'm like, when has that ever been a selling point for a freaking Star Destroyer, right? Like that was just so bizarre to me that was like a complaint people had. Like I thought the novelty of it was, hey, you don't have to pay $1,000 anymore. I mean, it's $700, but you know, you're not paying insane aftermarket prices for something that was like $270 when it first came out.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I think there were small things that kind of triggered the fan base that was like gung ho about the minifigures. Like when the designers said, "Oh, this is a set from the original trilogy," and then they were just like, "What?
Oh yeah.
What?" And it's like,
because Lego never makes mistakes with marketing. Every other set has been perfect.
Exactly. Well, and I think immediately I thought to myself, you know, he said original trilogy, but he means like the original 6 films. Like
Right.
I kind of knew what he meant at the same time. And then you have the side of the coin where they're talking about how the yellow storm or the yellow clone trooper doubles as the other thing, and it's like I kind of see how people can be angry about that, but
I mean, I can see like yeah, they're clearly wrong. I don't see why that's something worth getting angry about.
No.
Like, does it really matter? Like,
not really, because the only other way to get one, only other way to get one, it was $700, right? I mean, you had to buy the older, what was it, 2013, right? That was the only way to get a gunship.
Yeah.
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 I mean, if you want one new in box, I think there were 5 loose, right? I mean, they were pretty expensive. So
yeah. Well, and also didn't the 2013 gunship come with like the blue super battle droid that those go for like 100 a piece or something like that? Something crazy.
That would have been the O2 gunship.
Or the
2013 one came actually with a captain, which was the red one.
Oh, okay.
The yellow one came in the ATTE. Still was an expensive figure. But yeah, I don't know. What do Lego fans want nowadays? Like, you want minifigures? Like, if you want like cool minifigures, I feel like the last place you want them to show up is in some big $350 UCS set. Like, thank you, Lego, for not doing that. That would have sucked.
What do you think of this narrative that there's this big, unless you already asked this, Brent, but what do you think of this narrative that there's this big overarching bias towards prequels? I think it's pure insanity, Jay. I'm going to give my standpoint as the
Please
old
go ahead. Yes,
42-year-old guy who's a I'm an OT guy. Sorry. I was of age when the prequels came out. They were not very good. They just weren't. I was 20. I think I was 20 when episode 1 came out. I halfway liked episode 1. A lot of people bury that one. I actually kind of like that one. But the politics and I don't know if you've seen like the Red Letter Media reviews of the movies.
They're hilarious. Those are required viewing for anyone who
he is so spot on and not wrong. I was like, what is it about? It's like they get into the politics, and it was just all this gibberish. And Lucas, I hope, would admit he's not the greatest at dialogue. We don't even need to point that out. But my point is, like, everyone talks about how great Sith is too. I think it had a great like last act, but to me, the rest of probably one of the better last acts in Star Wars. Like, I'll give it that. But outside of that, I understand, like, we're going to talk maybe a little bit about wrestling later. I'm going to also tell you that when I grew up, Hogan, Macho Man, and Ultimate Warrior were the best. So I understand, like, sort of where people are coming from, that they have, rose tinted glasses for nostalgia. But getting back to my original point, this thought, and there's some very famous YouTubers, and I'm fans of them. I'm not going to, name names, and I'm not going to stop watching them. That's their opinion. But they're out there just like, they're sandbagging it on purpose. They're doing it because there's a bias. And I'm like, the only bias, and I've said this before, the only bias Lego has is towards cash. Yeah. That's all they care about. They are going to sell. They're going to put on the shelf whatever's going to sell the most. They do not care if it's a sequel, a prequel, Clone Wars, Life Day. They don't care. They will make a holiday special set if they think it will sell. Right. They probably would for the irony, but you get what I'm saying. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's any bias? Are they sandbagging the prequels, or are those people just now getting into maybe the incomes that us 30s and 40s, can passively buy their set? Because I think when the 20-somethings that are riding for prequels maybe get into their 30s, there might be more love shown to them because they'll have more income. I think it's like there's a couple things going on.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I mean, where do we even begin with this? Okay, so no, I don't think there's some giant conspiracy where Lego wants to purposefully tank a set. I think that's asinine to suggest that Lego would want to somehow hurt their own sales. And so here's the thing, right off the bat, we can, I think this can just put that theory to
I
rest.
bet. Yeah.
If Lego did not want to make a prequel set, if Lego said, we hate the prequels, we don't want to make sets for them, they never would have allowed us to vote for it in the first place. Straight up. Like, they would have never given us the opportunity to vote for it. The fact that they put that out there as like, hey, this is an option for you guys, I think shows that they, on some level, had a commitment to build it, to make and release that set, depending on how the results went. And I feel like that kind of sums it up right there. But what I think a lot of these people who are campaigning for prequel sets don't understand is, yes, in our community, like, the prequels have had like a resurgence of popularity and everyone's super into that and the Clone Wars, et cetera, et cetera. But on a much larger scale, to the average consumer, those movies just straight up don't resonate with the general public the way the original trilogy does. Right. People who are buying gifts aren't stumbling into the Lego store and seeing those sets and being like, oh yeah, let me buy that for this Star Wars fan that I know. They just aren't. Those movies just don't generate the income that the original trilogy does. So, I mean, it's a hard thing to tell, people in the community who, are seeing people building clone bases all the time and seeing, all this prequel love going everywhere. But the truth is, Lego's not making sets for us. Lego's not making sets for the people on YouTube who are, buying hundreds of battle packs. Lego's making sets for the general consumer. Lego's making sets for little kids. Lego's making sets for people who are going to be buying gifts. And the demographics of that are drastically different than the way our community is set up. And that's not to say that Lego outright wants to ignore the community. Like, obviously, they're trying to do what they can to make everyone happy for the most part. But what that means is we're going to see the things that can appeal to the greatest audience be the things that are most prominently out there. That's why we see so many Falcons, so many X-Wings, so many Snowspeeders, so many of those classic vehicles that are just so deeply embedded in Star Wars iconography that they almost transcend Star Wars. So where people walk into the store,
they know what it is without knowing what
Star Wars, but they know what an AT-AT is. They know what the Millennium Falcon is. They know what a Star Destroyer is. And I'm sorry to say it, but like, none of that exists for the prequels. The prequels don't have like an iconic vehicle that someone who's not a Star Wars fan would see and say, "Oh, that's Star Wars. That's that thing." And that's not even trying to crap on those movies. That's just the way it is. Those movies just don't have the level of
staying power
or presence.
Right. They don't have the staying power. Yeah. I mean, like, the amount of times that the OT has been shown on TV probably dwarfs, the prequels. Iconography, the perfect term there. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, if you're going in and a kid likes Star Wars and you want to go buy him a Lego Star Wars set and you have no idea what to buy, you've got that beautiful gunship on the shelf next to R2-D2 for 150 less. It's like no brainer, dude. Or just a base Falcon is 160. Like the regular set is 160. I can keep going, but it's like. Right. They really got to look at that. Everyone should have just been patting themselves on the back. We did it, guys. You got that you pushed this through.
I was just thankful to have a gunship.
Yeah, same with 501st. Like no complaints. Like, great. I think it's cool that everybody. By the way, I'm not hating on it. I'm glad that everybody rides for it. I just want everyone to understand though that there's. There's really
the world is bigger than us. We are not,
there's no conspiracy, man.
It's people that Lego's exclusively making sets for.
Well, and you can break it down to like, okay, even outside of Lego, if you go into a Kohl's and you look at the merch, okay, like you're gonna see like shirts with Falcons on them, shirts with R2-D2 and C-3PO, shirts with Darth Vader, shirts with primarily
Grogu everywhere.
Well, we don't want to get Jay started on the Mandalorian. We know how he feels about that.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
Real quick though, but this builds on your point. And Jay, this is another thing. And I don't know if you have actually insight because you've been in the game much longer than I have with this stuff, but I think people need to also understand what having a license means and having to be beholden to the licensor, meaning Disney obviously directs them on what sets to make. I think a lot of people think like they got the license, Lego can do whatever they want. Disney has obviously given them a certain amount of the sets that are coming out. I don't want to say it's half or anything, but A good portion are Disney Plus stuff, and that's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's an edict is what I'm saying. Like, I think most of it, they're probably like, yeah, okay, have your fan vote UCS, but because obviously, the way a license works typically, I don't know their arrangement. I do some of that stuff for work. They're going to get a percentage off of the units sold and the overall, margins of the gross units sold.
Right.
To your point, like, if people want to be honest with themselves, it's been since what, 2013 since an X-Wing came out? UCS, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm new to the game. I'm not buying the old one because I know they're going to bring that girl back around the corner. They're going to have to at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And again, if they're, to your point, so if they're bringing those side by side, what's gonna fly off the shelves faster, that or the gunship? Like, and if people are being honest, they'll go, well, that just came out. It's like, yeah, but not everybody was around 8 years ago or going on 9 years ago to get that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the point I bring back is Disney has a major say in what goes on shelves. Brent, to your point, they're telling people, they're saying, yeah, no, sell Falcon shirts at Kohl's. They're going to outsell a clone shirt. That's just the way it is.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I really wish, Lego would never do this because they don't have to do this. They don't owe an explanation to any of us. But if Lego were to put their sales out there and they were to show, oh yeah, like these are the sets that we make tons of money off of, and they made like a list of like best-selling sets. If you looked at like the prequel sets they do, and maybe like either UCS gunship, for example, those would pale in comparison to those iconic ships like X-Wings and TIE Fighters, and even like the R2-D2. Like that one has had weird, massive popularity because it's R2-D2 and everyone knows who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we'll never actually see these numbers, but given what I've observed, like those sets don't resonate with the general public. They do.
Yeah. No, I went to the release day of R2-D2.
It was insane, right?
There was probably so I was probably
people you've never seen before too, right?
Dude, I was like 35th in line.
Yep.
And that was 2 hours before the Lego store opened. And by the time they opened, there was probably 40 more people behind me.
Yep.
And when I showed up for the gunship, dude, like an hour before the store opened, there was like me and like 15 people. And I was like, where's everybody at?
Yeah.
And I also remember the night before I went to go get R2-D2, I'm on lego.com and I'm not even kidding. Like, I feel like it was 25 minutes went by, boom, back ordered. 45 minutes go by, boom, out of stock. And I remember Sean and I talked about even on the show, why was the gunship was in stock for like at least what, 4 or 5 days, like days. Yes,
days.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I remember we were at Brick Fair whenever that set went on sale, and we were chilling in a hotel room at midnight, and I was trying to help one of my buddies like hurry up and get one. And we throughout the night after he made his purchase, was like, oh, still in stock. Next day, still in stock. Get back home to Houston, still in stock. Still in stock. So yeah, like those sets, they have a place in Lego Star Wars for sure. I don't mean to sound like, oh, like Lego should never make those sets, because I feel at the end of the day, Lego should be committed to giving us a holistic view of Star Wars. I think, even if it's something that they know is not going to be extremely popular,
thanks, John.
If it means that we get a better representation of all of Star Wars, I would say we should still see those sets in places.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I don't think like we can't use our community's desires and our community's wish list to judge like, oh, does Lego care about its consumers, or is Lego trying to screw us over for some reason?
Yeah. What I think it comes down also, because when you just talk about like the Star Wars fandom, like excluding Lego, you've heard people say it time and time again, like, oh, Star Wars fans are toxic and this, that, and the other. But I think just because Star Wars is so worldwide and everybody loves it, that's such a wide variety of consumers. Like you can't make everybody happy. You can't do it. You can't do it. Like, no matter how good something is, I don't care if it's like the Beatles music. When I meet someone that's like, I don't like the Beatles, I'm like, what? But then I have to tell myself, every person in the world can't love something, no matter how good it is. You know what I mean? So it's such a wide variety of people that you can't please everybody.
When things like that happen, when they're just totally closed-minded, or maybe they really did give it the Pepsi challenge and didn't like it, what I do is I internalize it. I go, man, I feel bad that they can't get the joy that I do out of that thing. And then I move on.
Yeah.
You know, like I try my hardest to get people into, you know, wrestling when I was a kid, and there people are like, it's fake. And I'm like, I'm never going to convince. You know the feeling, Jay. And they're like, it's so fake. And I'm like, Ross and Rachel don't give a shit about each other, and you watch that every week. What are you talking about?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, like you can't please them all, as they say. So, House of Masks in the house. What up? Thanks.
What up, AJ?
Brendan?
Oh my God! Hail Captain Kirk, Star Wars for life.
Oh man,
he's a funny man. He's a funny man. I love that guy.
Yeah. So what do you? Let's jump into some recent news. There is a set coming summer, 529, 539. I'm just bypassing the whole wave, Jay, because this is the one that matters to me most. I hope that's all right. But there's going to be, we presume, a Master Builder Series set in the summer wave, I believe. Brent, 529, 539.
I don't know if it'll be summer wave. It might be like late, but probably like August. So yeah, summer.
So
summer,
around when the Cantina dropped. Okay. So Jay, it's out there. M&R, a couple other people have thoughts on it. They're thinking it's a Echo Base. No, I'm sorry. They're thinking Endor. It's sorry, the Endor. And by that they mean like the base there. I'm thinking if they're going to do Endor, they almost have to do the door. They have to do another Ewok village, and then maybe an AT-ST kind of or thrown into there. I don't know. That's my thought. Right. And then I've been telling Brent for about a year now, the way Lego kind of rode for Empire on the 40th, we got Jedi coming up. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But then you're also hearing like a Jabba's sail barge, but that's more of a vehicle, but then it's also a play set, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I would just rather have a big fat, Jabba's palace, but it sounds like that's going to go to the Boba Fett series earlier in the year, and it's going to be $100. When I heard it was coming, my excitement was erased. I'm like, $100, that's going to suck.
I think it's supposed to be like 160. Yeah.
No, it's $99.
Is it
seen
really?
it over and over. Yeah. If it was 160, I'd be like, okay, maybe we can do something there. Jay, what do you think it is, and what do you think about this strategy of the rotating sort of an MBS with a UCS every 2 years? Do you like that strategy?
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I was one of the first people to really I want to say pick up on it.
But that's the word. Thank you,
Chris. Like obviously a pattern where they were going, MBS vehicle, MBS vehicle, MBS vehicle. I love the MBS sets, man. I love them. I wish like Lego did them every year. I wish, maybe like for May the 4th would be an MBS, and then later in the year they do a vehicle. Because at the end of the day, like I love my locations, and as a mock builder, you love to see kind of what Lego does when it comes to those locations. If they did it every year, we'd get more of them by virtue of it. So I love the concept of a big location set like that. To me is just a dream. So insofar as like what it could possibly be, I think when you look at the like what would Lego possibly make for $500? Like what would people pay that much money for? Obviously the Death Star is up there. I don't think that's off the table. Ewok Village is certainly one of those iconic locations. Yeah. I do think Echo Base is possible. I think given they did like a
Hoth
this year and Hoth in January, I think maybe they'd want to do something a little bit different. Sometimes they'll let group sets together to make them contextually consistent. They don't usually do that like across waves though. Like we'll do Hoth sets in January and then you'll get a big Hoth set later in October. Like I don't see that as a possibility. If I had to pick like one of those that I personally really wanted to see, I'm going to go with a curveball. I'm going to say, how about like really just do something like wild and crazy and do something for the the anniversary of Star Wars Episode 2, because that's coming up next year.
Arena.
I know it's not going to happen. And we just got done talking about how the prequel sets don't sell as well. And I mean, it'd be totally wild for them to do $530, like really anything, like Geonosian Arena.
Dude, if they did though.
But it'd be sick. There's just no way.
Not happening. There's no way. Don't put that out there. Don't put it out there.
This is wild speculation. I'm gonna say this will not happen.
You're gonna put a movie,
right?
You're going to start a movement out there, and then now everybody's going to be disappointed. Like,
So I think that would be
all we
like
got was Endor with an Ewok village, a bunker. Oh, and Cult of Christensen just mentioned, good point. I did hear possibly that satellite, like the satellite build, could be part of that too. But realistically, when we talk about shelf presence though, and what would actually sell at 530, if we're all being serious, Ewok Village, again, it would be a no-brainer if they just did a bigger Ewok Village with a couple other components. I think that is spot on, and that gets my vote, and it's also what I would bet on coming out, because the anniversary is going to be in 23. If this is coming out towards the end of 22, they can sell that for the year and a half if they got that 40th logo on there, and off we go. And by the way, just so you know, I ride for Jedi. I know it's a weird pick. A lot of more people are Empire guys, but I'm a Jedi guy, so I'm like kind of just really pulling for that one.
So here's some wild speculation, and I feel bad putting this out there because I know it's going to create a lot of false hope. But if we do accept that it is an Endor set going out there, would this not be the perfect time for Lego to finally give us Force Ghosts in a set?
Ooh, like translucent, like translucent mystic pieces.
Yes.
You know, maybe Hayden Christensen, maybe Sebastian.
No, they have to leave. No. Lego has to leave him out just to start the outrage.
Oh, right. Yeah, we can't acknowledge it. They would purposefully do the original. No. It actually would be hilarious.
No. Yeah, because he's been, from what I understand, so Hayden's been put into it retroactively. He's in what's on Disney Plus now, I think. I mean, they have to leave him out just so.
This is before Disney got it. Like he's been put in there since.
But either way, it's not the original cut.
Right.
It's not the original.
The original guy was, I think, Sebastian Shaw. Is that his name?
Yeah, I want. Oh, the original like molten like face. Yeah, I the back to tank looking one. Yeah, I think. Well, here's what's great, Jay, is I don't know, they'd be smart to include both, but if they don't, there's going to be beef from two different camps, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Right.
And by the way, I love that stuff. I love when people get all bent out of shape about sets. I find it wildly entertaining because I'm with you. I'm like, I like minifigures, I would say, as much as the next guy, but really I'd say I like them less than the next guy. They're cool, but for me, like, that's the icing on a set. You know what I mean? Like if I got everything I ever wanted in an Ewok Village set with the bunker together, like you could throw me a couple scout troopers and give me Luke and Leia in the camo. You got to do that, and then I'm good. Yeah. Like you got to give me that.
We really need, because they've not made an updated camo Luke. The only one we have is literally the one with like the yellow face. So that would be a big selling point. They could obviously throw in, a few unique Ewoks that we've never gotten. So that would be awesome.
Right. I think before I forget and we move past, could this $530 price point be for a Death Star 2? Maybe.
I don't think a Death Star is off the table.
I don't either. Because everyone's like, "Oh, it just retired," and I'm like, "Yeah, but if it lasted for 5 years."
That was the Death Star 1. That was the Death Star 1.
No, I know, but I'm saying a Death Star. I don't think it's crazy. And Jay's spot on. When sets are out 5 years and people use that, or however long it was out, people use that as an argument against it coming out. I'm like, no. It was on shelves that long because it was still moving at a pace that, because that takes up a lot of presence in their retail store. It's a big footprint.
Yeah. Right.
Brett and I were talking last week, Jay, and I don't think they'd get it done for 530. I don't think they're going to do a Death Star now. I think they're going to do a $900 or possibly the first $1,000 set of a Death Star. I know it hurts, but they're going to do it AT-AT style, where you're going to get the 1 and 2 combined, where you're going to have the option to cover it and you'll have flaps to take it off. I think I would rather sit out and wait for something like that, because that could be a dream set. The knock on the Death Star, and I think fairly, is, I think it's fair to not. It does look way too play set. It would have been cool if you had an option to display it. And I think if they give people that option, and everybody that has the first one, of course, will buy the new one. So, but I'd love to see a Death Star too. Any of them are fine. Anything we're talking about is going to be awesome. But Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
I totally agree. If I had to put money on it, and I had to say there's going to be a $1,000 Lego Star Wars set, the only two things I could possibly see them doing would be a Falcon or a Death Star. And we've already had the Falcon. Like maybe like if I don't know, 10 years down the line they remade the Falcon and gave it a full interior, I could see them charging a K for that.
That'd be
But if not
1,500, Jay.
oh my
yeah,
god.
I mean, yeah, it'd be it'd be more than that for sure. But I'm just saying, like, if there were something to eclipse that 4-digit threshold, I think it definitely would have to be a Falcon or a Death Star. I think those are the only two options for something like that.
No doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. So you've got a bunch of things you wanted to cover, Brent. Is there anything that you wanted to jump into on the list? Do you want to keep Star Wars rolling, or do you want to get into? I guess before we leave Star Wars, do you want to talk a little through Starkiller, Brent?
Yeah. Well, so Jay has obviously covered that in two separate videos, a part 1 and a part 2. So if you guys haven't seen that, which I'm sure a lot of you have, and by the way, shout out to the chat. I'm assuming a few people here are fans of Jay's. Somebody said earlier, is Jay gonna watch Book of Boba Fett? And I just wanted to laugh because I doubt it.
Yeah, that's a no for me, Chief.
That's a no for me, dog. That's a big Randy.
Wait, tell me. I don't know the backstory on this, Jay. I watch you quite a bit, but I didn't hear the specific beef. Can you give me a couple of little?
So long story short, before I watched Mando season 2, I made, I guess, a pact with myself where I'm like, the moment there's some Dumb Force cameo, I'm not watching the show anymore. And that just kind of happened to be the end of the very first episode. And since then, I guess I've had like a boycott going on, or for any Star Wars property that comes out, if it's something like, derivative or expanding on a character we already know about, or just something that's like blatant fanboy pandering, I'm skipping it. So, Revive Boba Fett, easy skip for me. Bad Batch, easy skip for me. And I guess
Bad Batch is a skip.
Oh yeah, that was a very easy skip.
Wow.
I think I'm just so over the Empire, man. I've gotten my Empire fix. I watched the original trilogy. I watched Rogue One. I watched Rebels. I played Battlefront. I got it all. I'm good. I'm set on the Empire. I get it. They're bad dudes. They did bad stuff, man.
Will Harper just said, not a boycott, a boyocott. That's brilliant.
The boyocott.
That is brilliant.
That's what
Nice. That's awesome. No, I hear you. I do feel bad though, because despite a lot of questionable decisions, we'll say, and I'm sure you've heard by now, no spoilers, but the season 2 finale of Mando was the best Star Wars moment I've had in 30,
dude,
40
yeah,
years.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's the only thing
obviously,
I feel bad for you for missing out on.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's been spoiled for you, Jay. I'm sure. You've seen the memes, and
seen that scene.
I myself I loved it, but
I get it.
We know where you stand on it.
Yeah, I'll say I'm glad I did myself the favor of not watching that, because that would have, like, I think for my own mental well-being, it's good that I just kind of stayed away.
Yeah,
like I really don't like it, and I haven't, like, I'm not invested in it, so I can kind of not like it but not really care. If I watched the show already through, I would be irate. So I'm glad I am where I am.
Playmation says Mando season 2 is meh. Disagree, brah.
I
loved it. Yeah. Well, actually, Jay, it wouldn't make sense for you to like it since you're the big Rian Johnson guy. So did you loved his treatment of Luke? You thought that was pretty cool?
Oh, that was perfect. I love it. I love it.
Everybody can have their own.
Yeah, to my point earlier,
I mean, am I wrong to say it was fine, but would you have rather he actually showed up though? I mean, you didn't have any problem with the way Luke was portrayed at all, not one bit.
No, not at all. Because that's I'm not so obsessed with the fantasy of Luke, or like the idea that he has to be the ultimate superhero. Like Luke Skywalker doesn't have to be Goku. Like, even the original trilogy, Luke's defining moment wasn't him doing some badass Jedi thing. It was him kind of taking the smarter path and doing the more level-headed option that would, keep more people safe and not require him to like rage out on anyone. And I feel like a lot of that mentality was kind of lost in the prequels, because in the prequels, all the badass Jedi moments are them decapitating people for whatever reason.
Right.
So the fact that we kind of circle back around to Luke being a flawed character, which is great because he's like doing something that's actually interesting instead of just being Goku. And he still came back around. You know, he was still the hero, but he did something we'd never seen before. Like from if we're just like looking at it from a vacuum and like a perspective of like the Force and what people can do, like that was incredible. Like that was just amazing what he was able to accomplish. Two, it actually provided for an interesting moment in the film because like I didn't see that coming. So like it wasn't just the obvious thing, right? And I feel like
but
in
that doesn't
Star Wars, we totally like circled back on that. Like anytime, like they're so obviously just going for the simple, easy, obvious thing to do. Like, oh, Boba Fett's coming back. Have him murder 1,000 stormtroopers in a local park. That would be badass. And there's nothing clever or creatively inspired about that. And I'm glad they didn't just give Luke that treatment. They didn't just have him come out and like do something badass. But like, I don't know, they had him do something just creative and different. Like I don't need my Star Wars characters to be like the ones I played in video games, but I don't know, give me something to think about. Give me something different. Surprise me, you know? So like, I don't need the obvious thing to happen.
Yeah. And now, all right. So I agree with you, Jay, for the most part about like, you know, I wasn't mad at the fact that he was, you know, force projecting or whatever. My whole thing was like, did he really have to die? Because when I came out of the movie, like I went to the bathroom and so many like
dudes were crying. Yeah.
So many dudes that were, you know, older than me were like,
it hits us different. I think it hits us different.
Dude, these guys were in the bathroom like, wow, I'm gonna go home and watch episode 1. It was better than that shit. And they were so mad. Jay, dude, you would have been laughing at these dudes' reactions.
Well, I think that's it, right? Like, so he was our guy for our whole lives, warts and all. You know what I mean? And like, so to me, someone in the chat mentioned, I think Lance Vader. There you go. Mentioned Luke was set up in failure by Force Awakens. I couldn't disagree more. The way that movie was sailing by, I was having a good time with it. And when they showed him as old man Luke at the end, I was like, oh shit, you know. And that's, I think, what I was most disappointed in was like, you gave us this cliffhanger, and then the next time we see him 2 years later or whatever, he's sucking a green milk tit or something. I'm just like, you know, like,
I don't hate that Luke was old and was like a hermit.
No, I love that he's old. I wanted to see him as old man Obi-Wan style, which he got into a little bit with a little bit of training with Rey. And by the way, I don't feel
to be fair, Luke did way more than Obi-Wan did. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
like,
fair. Sure, but that's because the whole world is watching, and I knew it would be scrutinized. I'm just generalizing. Like, he did his wisdom pass or whatever, you know, like Yoda did more for Luke than Ben did. I mean, if we're gonna be
I feel like Luke is more
training wise.
Like, Luke in the sequel trilogy is more comparable.
I mean, none of them trained
Yoda
adequately, if we're gonna get into that. They all trained for 15 minutes, all of them. So it's like, you know,
I don't know. I saw an article recently that supposedly Luke was on Dagobah for like a month. But I mean, hey, that's
that is the.
I mean, they're all OP, whatever,
right? There's a lot of ambiguity.
I mean, it always comes back to Last Jedi. No, man, I respect Jay's. I like that he rides for it and he's out there with it. That's brave and it's awesome. I wish I could empathize and feel the same way. But to me, I mean, I've never been more disappointed on any movie ever than the way that was handled. Wow. Yeah, I mean, like, look, feed him. I agree. You got to feed. Look, going back to wrestling, you know, you got to feed the top guy that's on his way out to the big monster heel, and they did that, and that's cool because that boosted Kylo to the next level. He needed that. So I'm saying, if you're gonna do it, I get what you're saying about the force projection, and that was cool, but like, I would have rather seen like a hard fought battle, and then he goes down. Like
you straight up wanted to see Luke get murdered.
Yeah, instead of like the wither away thing. I
feel like that would have like, given the way people
there's a way you can do it though, Jay. Going back to wrestling.
If Disney's darling like Kylo Ren's the one who kills Luke, I almost feel like that might go over worse. It got like, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Well, in the end, that's why they didn't do it,
I
because they
see both sides
him.
of the coin.
They flipped him. They flipped him good though. But I'm just saying again, I'm pro wrestling mentality. As you know, when there's a great match, there is a winner and a loser. But a lot of times they both come out fine, whether they got pinned or not, or killed in this case. They can both be elevated by the match itself. That's what I'm.
Right.
That's where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke could have been elevated, like he still got it. We didn't know if he still had it, because he was all. So it's like, I don't know.
But did he ever have it though? Like,
of course he had it.
I mean, he had it.
Did you see how he wrecked shit? Of course, you didn't see the Mandalorian. He had it, man.
Okay, that hadn't happened yet.
But listen, I'm saying, I'm at peace with it now.
He had it when he was like angry, but like I said, like his crowning moment in that movie was when he didn't fight. So it feels. I guess I'll say this. It would have felt very bizarre if like Luke goes off into hiding because he almost killed his nephew, just to circle back around and attempt to kill his nephew again. I think that just would have been bizarre.
Yeah.
True. But somebody made that bad storyline anyway, and they had to tie it up.
So then too, I think this might be where we can leave it. The biggest reason I didn't have a problem with Luke dying, so to speak, was because I thought it opened up our opportunity to see Luke as the ultimate Force being, as a Force ghost, which I thought could have been really interesting for the final movie. Because at the end of the day, like, yes, he's passing the torch. I feel like Luke in the final movie, where you're trying to have, your main characters, Rey, Kylo, Finn, Poe, kind of like lead the way. I don't see the utility that a physical Luke could have in that movie. I feel like the movie would almost be held back if Luke's a physical being, because he's not going to be running around with everybody. He's not going to be, hopping in ships and hopping on speeders and fighting people. He would kind of have to just be somewhere. And I don't think you want to have him on a telephone talking to Rey. So him being a Force ghost and being able to like spit wisdom, I thought that is kind of what he was setting up there. And I guess from a more of a thematic statement, like, yes, like let the past die, kill it if you have to. That was
lazy. That's lazy.
The torch moment, and that I thought that would lead the way to let the new cast really shine for the last movie. I think having like Luke alive in the last movie really would have overshadowed.
I think he should have died.
Finishing it out.
I think he should have died, but it does. I mean, and I love everything. And if it had happened the way you just described, that'd be fine. But it was purely the Rey Kylo show from, the second from Jedi on. Everybody else went to the complete wayside.
Even Finn, dude. I feel like they did Finn dirty.
Written out of the whole thing. So many. All right, you're right. We could do 5 hours on this. Let's get into your story.
All right. Hey, let's talk about the sequels some more.
I know all of us did well. We all kept our composure. Good job, everybody.
I live in the middle of it. Like I like this. I saw The Force Awakens like 7 times in the theater. Like, I like the sequels, but I don't know. I see both of your points.
All right, so Jay, let's get into this. You've probably told the story, but for those who don't know, start at the beginning. Like, why did you decide to build this monster out of everything you could have tackled? I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, but like, there's no one else probably thinking to do this. What made you go, you know what? I got to build this base here.
So the funny thing happened the other day. I was just scrolling through my phone here, and I found a text entry that I made in 2017, like basically right after I watched The Last Jedi, and it was a list of things that I wanted to build. And I don't know if I can find it here, but in a nutshell, that list was comprised of I think Crate, and that's the thing I built like right next. Vardos from Star Wars Battlefront 2, because Star Wars Battlefront 2 had literally just come out. It almost came out like kind of in tandem with Episode 8. The pod race for Episode 1, because that was like my first mock project I wanted to do, and I keep telling myself one day I am going to actually finish that. And the last thing on that list was Starkiller Base. I can't tell you why I put that on the list. Like, I don't really remember what mindset I had at that time that made me say, oh, Starkiller Base has to be the one thing that I build at some point down the line on this list of 4 big builds. But it was. I think that maybe like the circumstances around me watching that movie could have been one of the big factors behind it. Like, I mean, I don't know if there's anything in my life that I've ever been more hype about than The Force Awakens. Like the anticipation leading up to that movie. Like I remember I was a senior, maybe a junior in high school when they announced like, oh yeah, like Disney bought Star Wars and they're going to make new Star Wars movies. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, that'll happen at some point in the future. Fast forward to like 3 years later, and you know, it's finally happening. I'm finally gonna get to go to the movie theater and watch a new Star Wars movie. And I ate up all like the material leading up to it, like all the trailers, like the speculation videos, all the podcasts, all the everything. Just trying to immerse myself in this what felt like a new Star Wars universe, which is so interesting, right? Because you know it's still the same universe. It's a little bit in the future, but the what the new Disney era brought to us was just new elements of canon to immerse ourselves in. You know, pieces of the story that we would try to patch together leading up to this movie to just get an understanding for the context in which these new stories would be told in. And I was all in. Like I was all in on those movies right off the bat. So when I finally did go see The Force Awakens, I saw it when I was up at school in Michigan. And I thought one of the things that really stuck out to me was how the movie kind of ends on Starkiller Base, or it's snowy and you're in, you know, like a forest with a bunch of big dead trees. And like when I walked inside the movie theater, it was Michigan, so it was snowing, and there was a bunch of big dead trees around me. So I kind of felt like I was in Starkiller Base. And I think that imagery, that feeling, that immersion always stuck with me. And I knew like I have to get that feeling back. I have to build this with Lego at some point down the line. So once, you know, we did Crate, and then I did Vardos, which was supposed to be my take a break project. That was the smaller one. And then after that, I was like, okay, like it's time to do Starkiller. And, you know, I planned all these little things out. And I do have to say, like, when I first started this project, I didn't intend for it to be as big as it was. That's not to say that, like, I planned it to be small. I just didn't have a concept of how much space I'd actually need to accomplish all the things that I wanted to accomplish. So it wasn't like I started with a big space that I'm like, let's fill this all up with Starkiller. It was more so like I had a list of all the things I wanted to build. And I was like, we'll just see how much space this takes up. And it ended up being, you know, like the biggest single person Star Wars mock ever.
Just that wall there with the logo is so sick. Like, I just want that. Like, because I could never even
like,
dream.
Look at the cannon that he's even touching. Like, look at the size of that thing.
That's
like,
a UCS cannon right there.
Do
you like the aesthetic of the sequels better than the prequels, Jay, in general?
100%. Like,
same here.
Kind of went back amazing to that like lived in mentality that George kind of stressed in the original trilogy. I mean, they're both of them are using, you know, some combination of real sets and CGI. The prequels, I'd say, maybe used more CGI, were not absolutely necessary.
Distracting
but
levels.
A lot of like the prequel sets are just like, even if it's like a real set, it's like covered in CGI, and it makes it just look fake. And I mean, the acting certainly doesn't help kind of sell that they're in these environments. Whereas with the sequels, like go down to like the fact that there's physical stormtroopers, like everything just has so much more of a tactile feel. Like one of the scenes that I think about, and this is something like I can describe it to you, and like there's no way you'd ever get this feeling from any scene in the prequels, honestly. But the scene where they're in Starkiller Base and the elevator opens, and then Chewbacca just shoots a stormtrooper at point blank range, and he flies across the hall, and you like see his like armor crack, and like the pieces of his armor crumble on the floor. There's a certain like immersion that creates, and that, like, I don't know, just the tactility, the texture, the everything of that really helps you know, put yourself in that environment, as opposed to some of the prequel environments, which can feel, you know, just like a green screen room that dudes are standing in.
Even like from the moment that Force Awakens starts, and all those stormtroopers are in the transport, and they're all kind of moving around, because you know that you immediately are like, I'm in here, like I'm in here with them. Like from an immersion standpoint, like
it's much easier for me to put myself in those sequel locations than it is for me to like imagine what it might be like if I was standing in like the Gungan underwater area, right? Like that literally just feels like some fantasy video game world, whereas like Starkiller base feels like a place I can actually go to. I know it's not, but it feels like it. So I think that's kind of how I distinguish the two.
Yeah, and the fact that like this, would you say, okay, so like I feel like a lot of people when they think of a big mock, they're like, okay, like a ping pong table, big.
Yeah.
Starkiller's like 2 of those. Is it longer? I mean,
I don't know. Let's ping pong table's what, like 8 feet long?
At least, yeah, about at least.
So this mock was like 22 feet long. So
that's like 3 ping pong tables.
Yeah,
3 ping pong tables, ladies and gentlemen.
Have you talked about the total time spent and budget? Did you get a little help from anywhere, from Lego, from your fans donating stuff? Like, how did that all break down?
Oh, I mean, if there's like one single place I had to say that was like the biggest source of help, it'd have to be from the build series I did and from the fans donating week in and week out when I would, do those live streams. So, without them, it literally would not have been possible. Like that, without a doubt, had to be like the big factor that really helped me actually make this mock a possibility. I'd say the other thing was just the fact that like when out the gate, whenever I first started building, I knew I wanted to build big. So I was always buying, I guess, in bulk to help me build big. So like I was always buying, pad cups of 2x4 bricks to elevate stuff for filler. Like I kind of had that mentality, like I'm going to need a bunch of stuff to help me build under this. So it wasn't like, I started this project with 0 pieces in my collection and bought everything along the way. But this was kind of the result of projects I did before. Like we started off with Scarif, and the Citadel required a bunch of dark gray bricks. When I moved on to Crate, the base there required a bunch of dark gray bricks and white bricks. So that right after that was like, oh, like that's Starkiller's exact same color palette. Right. And Ardos was also a bunch of dark gray bricks and light gray bricks, also contributes to Starkiller. So you can see like I kind of strategically planned this to where like Starkiller's just color were going to be kind of a combination of Crate and Vardos and Scarif. So it all, I mean, that's not to say I didn't buy a bunch of stuff after the fact, because like during this project, you like this is just so much bigger than all those other projects. I did need to buy more, but I wouldn't say like I didn't buy maybe as much as you thought I did over the course of the specific project, because I had done a few other large scale projects that use more or less the same color palette.
Right. For example, like if you wanted to do a Hoth, which I know your next mock isn't Hoth, and we'll get into that. But if you wanted to do a Hoth, like you have a good amount of white bricks.
Oh, if I want to do Hoth, I'd be set. Like I'd be like I could start Hoth right now and make like a beautiful mock and not have to place a single order.
Right. But I commend you for not doing Hoth, and we'll get into what you're working on next. But Hoth has kind of been done quite a bit. I mean, I think we could all agree.
Hoth is the go-to for sure.
Right. Yeah, 3 ping pong tables, guys. 3 of them.
That's incredible. So
realize that.
How many shows?
Pictures, but they don't really like. I saw the mock more than anybody, and I still don't have a real good grasp of just how big it was. Like seeing it in person, like just every time I looked at it, I would just be in awe. Like I genuinely cannot believe that this mock ended up as big as it did. It was insane.
And
I mean, just this part is just crazy.
Jay, when is this already been busted up, or do you want to show it some more, or like how long do you let these breathe before you break them down and on to the next one?
So sadly, this was the mock I got to see for the least amount of time. I like literally just did not have the space to display this mock anywhere other than this convention, and I didn't finish it until like 4 hours before the convention ended. So I saw this mock for about 4 hours, and then it got busted down. Other than the stage I did take to another convention that next weekend, but like basically 65% of this was busted down like after 4 hours of me displaying it.
And that's the regular play scale Falcon in there?
I think there's a Falcon. There's an X-wing there.
I'm sorry, the X-wing, pose X-wing.
Yeah, that is a play scale X-wing.
I'm just
So
like
imagine
taking all this
pull
in
your
and
X-wing out, and then imagine like how big.
That's what I'm
you
trying to
do.
grasp. Yeah,
Right,
And that is
that's
just
bonkers.
a fraction of this build.
insane.
That is awesome. And so you picked this one because it was most convenient for you than hauling this to like Brick Fair. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is my local convention, so
Gotcha.
everything was kind of set up around this. This was the one I have the shortest distance driving to, I guess.
Right.
Got you. Real quick on the convention front. From what I understand, because I haven't been, I tried to go to one out here in LA and it was not great.
Was it Bricks LA?
No, Brick Fair Live, and I'm not trying to.
Oh, those that's not a Lego convention. I can say like that's more of like a
fan or family build-a-thon.
Yeah,
There was just
that's more of like
pools of bricks in the middle
hey,
of COVID.
spend money here than an actual like celebration of mocks and
Well,
custom builds. So I would say don't let that shape your opinion of conventions.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I do see like an opportunity though in that space though. I feel like a lot of it is. I would like to see Lego invest in that. It doesn't seem like they do just in that space in general.
I don't think the Brickheads slides are actually done by Lego. I think it's a third-party company actually.
No, I think all of the. My point is, all the conventions to me seem like they could be, even Brick Fair. And I'm not knocking Brick Fair. Like I want to go next year. I'm not knocking it. They just seem like production value wise, they could be improved upon. Just in my opinion, like from someone who goes to a lot of cons. Like it seems homespun, you know what I mean? Like low budget.
I understand what you mean. Like it's not
yeah.
But I think the thing you have to consider is a lot of the and here's why I'll tell you, like the people who go to cons would tell you like please don't change anything. The unique thing about a Lego convention as opposed to any other convention where you're going there essentially to be sold something, like like Comic-Con, you're going there to to buy sold media.
Yeah.
With a Lego convention, there's vendors who will sell you stuff, don't get me wrong, but the people putting on the convention are still Lego fans, and I think that they in that regard are doing the convention as a way to give back to Lego fans. Like, yeah, you pay your fee to get in and to display, but you get a significant amount of value back, whether it be the prize you get at the door or the raffles that you do at conventions. Like I can tell you right now, like most conventions I've been to, like I got more money worth of sets back from like raffles that I was automatically entered into just for paying to the convention than I actually paid for my admission price. So a lot of those conventions, like, yeah, they're I mean, it's not going to look like Comic-Con or anything, but I think the value you get back from it is kind of the trade-off there. Like they could just take all your money and then put it into the convention to make this big, beautiful looking thing. But I think the fans appreciate the structure of it more so, like the way it's constructed now, than if they did more so go for like a high budget kind of deal.
No, it makes sense. And I guess for me, I'm coming in more from a buyer collector perspective. Right. So I appreciate your take that, like, so much so that Bricks LA this year is mock builders only, and that's the only people they want attending because of current situation and everything. We're a lot more. I'm in LA. I don't know if I guess I didn't mention that to you. Just a little north of LA,
right?
And we're still the most buttoned up, masked up state in the union. I assume. I don't think anybody's doing it like us. So so they didn't want anybody there. And this show, I was excited because I'm pretty new to this. I'm only like 2-3 years in at this point, and so this was like my first convention. So you could see how I was like disappointed. I went wanting to buy because I watch you guys' videos. I live vicariously through all my favorite Lego YouTubers, and I see rows and rows and rows of new and used glory that I've never seen in person. So for me, and I could negotiate and whatever, but I just wanted to go play the game there and just see if I could find some gem or what I mean, like some steal. So I'm more of like I have a great appreciation for this stuff. I don't have the time to do this kind of stuff, but for me, I wanted to like buy stuff, if I'm being honest, and like
I understand.
it wasn't there. So
Yeah.
it's like I want to see a flea market style thing.
Got you.
Would you
Right.
recommend? I mean, it looks like Brick Fair has a lot of sellers there, right? So that's probably a good show for that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Brick Fair is great. I mean, I don't know like what their situation is, but I know Bricks by the Bay. You know, I mean, that's not super close to you, but
that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's within driving distance for sure. So I'd say that would be like if you want kind of that Brick Fair, Brickwell, Chicago experience. Bricks by the Bay is probably the best you're gonna get, like in that vicinity. If you want to drive a little bit further, in Seattle, there's BrickCon, which is one of the biggest conventions that happen in this country.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm gonna definitely check out more of the higher tier ones. I think is where I'd probably do better.
So, I gotta go to Brick Fair, Virginia. I've never been to a convention, so I gotta go to Brick Fair, Virginia this year.
It just changes you as a fan, like straight up.
Right.
Like it's just
that's what I heard. And then and everybody's pretty accessible. And then I hear it's just a lot of chill sessions, like a lot of YouTubers.
There's a lot of chill sessions,
dude. When I saw
dinner together and hang, like I like the camaraderie is more than the. And I mentioned I wanted to go buy stuff, but I like that more. I'd rather just hang out and meet like-minded people. So,
dude, my most interesting thing I saw like M&R do from Brick Fair, Virginia is like him and a bunch of people went and played basketball. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
I would much like I would love to go like play basketball like with M&R and people rather than like sit there and like I don't know, just like nerd out about Lego. Like I'd be like, oh, we're playing basketball, like let's go.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of obviously Lego related activities. That's what I go for. Like,
right.
Like you have to pull me away from the convention because for me, it's like there's so much to look at. I'm not going to get to see it all, but I want to make sure I spend as much time as possible looking at stuff. But then, there's, once, the night comes and people, we're going to go find other fun stuff to do. Like, it's a blast, dude. Like, we one of the things me and my group did, we sat down and we watched Indiana Jones, which was kind of a cool thing because one, I'd never seen it before, but two, everyone, I know, right? Shocker. But like the people who I was hanging out with were they at the convention purchased, I guess, all the Indiana Jones sets from the first movie. So while we were watching the first movie, they were sitting there building the sets from it. And it was like just the coolest thing ever. Like that was, I don't know, it was just a nice little like, we're gonna celebrate Indiana Jones with Lego and Indiana Jones. I don't know, it was so cool. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those, I mean, I watched Indiana Jones for the first time probably back in like 2015-ish, because like when Disney bought Star Wars and the sequels came out, I was kind of like, I got my. It's funny because the movie was called The Force Awakens, and the Force literally awakened in me because I've been a Star Wars fan since episode 99. And I was like, Star Wars is back. And then I just literally was watching the movies over and over. And then I was, come to think, I was like, oh, wow. Like John Williams did the music for Indiana Jones, and George Lucas was an executive producer on Indiana Jones. And,
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the wave I came up in and again, like old man stuff here, but around that time, like if you a friend of yours had HBO Max or HBO, it was back. It's no Max.
There was no Max.
We would have for us poor, we would have free HBO week where they'd give it to you for a week.
Yeah.
And so we would rent or borrow a VCR and tape whatever was on the free HBO week one time a year. And, and all this stuff that everybody's riding for right now, like guys like me in their 40s that are still buying Ghostbuster stuff and whatever, like and Spies Like Us and Goonies sticks out. There was just like Back to the Future. All those critical movies were all part of this HBO wave where back then they only bought the rights to like 12 movies and they would just cycle them over and Karate Kid, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so that's kind of, and we would tape it and then we'd watch it nonstop even after that. That's awesome. Yeah, so like we used to have to like struggle to get that stuff. So I think that's why we're also like nostalgic for it. And speaking of nostalgia, we're something we've been talking about, teasing a little bit. Let me get this going here. Here we go. Oh yeah.
Hey, oh my god, I really hope that happens.
I think this has been out there for a while. I don't know if this specific one. What do we got here? What are we? It's expired, Jay. 6,500.
So much for that.
Could have made it to the 10K, but
Man.
why no wrestling theme? WWE has put themselves on. They're Star Wars, you know. Basically, they've been on toilet paper. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Spaceballs, merch, Spaceballs. They've done it all. It seems like it must be Lego. Is it the violence? Like what?
I think modern WWE would have the best shot. I
it's
think
PG now, yeah.
Yeah, like that. Like modern WWE is kind of like the polished, like Disney on Ice type of environment, to where I think they could have a shot. But I think the fact that it's violence and the fact that it's
Nice,
promoted as real violence, I think, is where Lego draws the line. Like Lego doesn't have an issue with fantasy.
No, they tell you it's fake every 10 seconds now, so much so that it takes you out of it.
You know what I mean? Like obviously, like now, they're breaking kayfabe at like every 5 seconds, but still the product as it's structured, nice. It's treated like something that's actually happening. It's treated like a real fight with people who are trying to hurt each other. So I think that might.
But it's not UFC. You know what I mean? Like I could understand why they wouldn't do UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But this would just like play so well. So Jay, you're the
thing about it is, to Lego's target audience, like I mean, I don't know, maybe do kids still believe in wrestling, right?
It's dwindling. The ratings are plummeting. It's because the product's so bad now. But it seems they're after us, and that's all of us with the 18 plus stuff. And this exact set would do bonkers, I think. I'd change a little bit, but they're pretty close. It's pretty awesome. So how do we build on this? Obviously you need the ring, and I want to ask you, like, so give me some must-have sets. We need the entrance ramp, right? There's all the obvious stuff. What do you think about like the sort of offbeat or wacky sets? Like what would you say as the mock master, if you were to build it? I mean, I think we'd all have an arena, but you know how much they love making vehicles. So do we need like
an ambulance?
An ambulance? We need a limo for the guys to pull up in. Like
absolutely, yeah.
Is there anything I'm not thinking of besides backstage brawl?
The backstage area, like the locker room, would be a big one. If we want to go way back, like the boiler room, I could see could be like a real like interesting Lego set if they want to go there.
Boiler room brawl, yeah, that would be cool.
Like if they wanted to just like that seedy basement type area. I could see them doing like, I don't want to say weapons packs, but just like packs that are geared towards gimmicks. Like, you'd have, the cage you can add to the ring. You'd have,
there you go, Will's
ladders and tables and crap like that.
Undertaker,
if they want to do a buried alive match, they could have like a dirt hill or something like that.
Undertaker's hearse just came through in the chat. That's a good like,
yeah. The hearse, absolutely.
You could do an urn. You could do an urn build. I don't think they would do an urn build, but that would be cool.
There's no way Lego's doing an urn build, but
no, but that caused less destruction than Thanos's.
Right. That is true, but symbolically, it's on a different level.
UCS foldable chair.
I was gonna say, yeah.
the reason I say this stuff, Jay, is. So even if like they came to terms and they go, okay, it's fake and we're down, and then they have this discussion that we're having now, like you kind of run out of stuff fast. But I don't know, it never stopped them from making 17 helicopters and 37 motorcycles for Jurassic Park, right? So I mean, they could do
right. Like this doesn't need to be like, so here's the thing, it wouldn't need to be a theme where it's like, oh, we're gonna get sets from this for the next 5 years. It could just be something where we're like, we'll do like a wave or 2 or 3 and we'll see how it goes. I think one of the things that you're also kind of undercutting is the ring and stages could be like something they do forever, because like that's kind of constantly evolving. And I mean, they've done so many
different events. You mean
exactly? Yeah, they've done so many different
WrestleMania banner. Yeah,
exactly. That could go on forever.
Yeah.
So like in terms of like, could this be recreated to a toy? I'd say yes. I think who's the company that does the brick built WWE stuff? I don't know.
I was looking for that. It's Micro something or other. I forget. Yeah. I can look it up, but I was gonna pull that up, but then I remember this thing made it. Those were trash. I didn't even like, because once I wasn't really into Lego then, but even then, so as far as my wrestling collection, I've got thousands tied up in Mattel figures.
Dude, you got to show me that at some point. Like, we don't have to do this now, obviously.
Yeah,
Like, I've been super nostalgic.
I've got a lot of them. Yeah, like I mean, I was there from day one. I had the LJN, sold them, had the Hasbro. I'm kicking myself, but the Mattels I have.
Okay.
I have all the CM Punks, like all the original ones, all the Bret Harts, all the Legends, all the every Ultimate Warrior that ever came out. Like, and he's my guy, by the way, like all-time guy. I came up with in the Hulkamania era, but Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan will never beat anything I'll ever watch in my life again, unfortunately. Even though in hindsight, like, it wasn't like a 5-star match, but just in the moment at 10 years old or whatever I was, there was nothing greater than him winning the belt. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where I come from.
Like the Jack Pacific figures, like that was
Bone Crunchers. I had all those too. Yeah. I mean, I was collecting like I was the one who, back in those days, it wasn't cool to be an adult collector. So I'd do my cousin's going to love these while I'm ringing them out. Because there was like a cute girl at the register or something.
Yeah.
So
here's a question real quick before we move on. Have you ever been to one of the WWE stores when those existed?
No. So there was only, to my knowledge, tell me what else I'm missing, but I know there was Niagara Falls. I know there was WWE New York. I never went there. I lived in New York for many years after the fact, and I would always be bummed out that I never got to do that. My friend, this is not WCW, but he went to the Nitro Grill in Vegas, and he brought me the menu, which I still have, mint condition.
That's awesome.
The items on there, dude, are so tremendous. The Booker T-Bone.
Yep.
Booker T-Bone?
Yeah, the onion rings of Saturn.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The DDB, which is the Diamond Dallas Burger. I mean, there's all kinds, but no, man. And I would dare I say I would probably, for my fandom, I deserved, I don't use that word often, to go to those stores, because I told myself as soon as I had enough money, I'd go to WrestleMania every year, and I went to 14 in a row.
That's crazy.
But I'm now with
one of the magical moments of my childhood was we went to Niagara Falls just the trip, and we were just like, I don't know, I think we were like just walking down the street, just
the tourist area,
and we just randomly stumble upon the WWE store. And I had, obviously as a kid, I had no idea it existed. I wasn't expecting it.
I don't think any of us knew till after the fact. There was early internet, right? That was 2000, 2001. Yeah.
I think I probably went in like 02 or 03. I would say maybe like 02, 03.
Okay.
Maybe it could be possible to be happening in 01.
But it's not like they were talking about it on TV. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Like who would ever, who would travel to go see that?
I would if I knew about it. Try to.
But like, man, that's just one of the coolest things ever. It's like, it'd be like, me being a kid and like stumbling upon a Lego store when I didn't know those existed. But like just casually finding a WWE store and going in and seeing all this merch like I'd never seen in person. Like they had the Rey Mysterio mask just all lined up on the mannequins. They had like, I guess since there's a mystery, it had to have been like 02 or 03. Now I'm thinking about it.
Did you cop?
They had tons of figures everywhere. They had the replica belts. They had just everything you can imagine. And I was like deep into, like, this was like the height of my WWE interest. And I forget what I bought. I'm sure my mom bought me something, but like that was that moment was everything for me.
The house, my buddy, the House of Masks that was in here earlier, he's got a slew of Kane masks. I mean, he's got a ton of wrestling figures, but he's got like so many different Kane masks and
That's
just
awesome.
cool. Obviously, because his channel is called the House of Masks, but he mostly does like horror movie stuff, Slipknot stuff, but he's definitely got a few shelves of wrestling related stuff, a lot of Kane masks, Stone Cold stuff, and all that good stuff. So, oh yeah. I'm if he was here still, he'd be dropping some stuff about this. But
no, the Kane probably overall had the dopest masks of anybody. Well, Rey Mysterio, it's Rey for variety, obviously, and theming, but
yeah,
Kane did the most with the least, if that makes sense. He just had red and black, but he would just just the little change ups and the way it evolved, and you know, he
So
had like
what's your favorite Kane appearance? I have to ask. Like, what's your favorite Kane aesthetic? Maybe not necessarily character, but literally just the aesthetic.
I want to just say probably I think it's when he first flipped the black and red.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Same
Where the
here.
mask was
It
more
the color
dominant there, and he still had the arm. He had the one arm out, you know,
Yep.
the one arm out, but one with his long sleeve because that kind of went away after a while.
Yeah, that was like
I like the flip. I'll call it. You know,
he was like
like
tag teaming with X-Pac.
that might have been it. Yeah, you know, I thought that was. I mean, the OG is. It's hard to say beat the OG even back
OG
then.
is up there for sure.
But when he flipped it, that was sick. I
He put that thing down, flipped it, and reversed it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're flipping it for flam. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'd say. He did the most with little, and a lot of people give Taker credit and Jericho, and it's all deserved the way they reinvented themselves. But like Kane actually did it quite a bit and had one of the longest runs ever, and he probably just started as a guy for Undertaker to beat at a WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. I just say like I love that
like,
Kane. I think my favorite iteration of Kane though has to be when he originally unmasked and then he just kind of went on a total rampage and had that feud with Shane McMahon. Like I remember like
the May 13th or whatever, like when he was promoting the movie.
That was a little bit after that, I think. The May 19th obsession.
The flip. There's the flip right there.
Yeah, there's the flip. I found that photo. Yeah, that's love that.
I'm like using shoe lingo. I don't know if that's the right, but like we'll call it the flip. Yeah.
No, that's literally what it is. That he inverted the colors.
Yeah. So for Brent, you know, just put the red where the black is, and his mask is black dominant for the first time.
Well, I've seen enough. Yeah, I've seen enough Kane masks at
kind of an expert
now. Yeah, I get what you guys are talking about. Picking up what you're putting down.
No, I like when they took the mask off, and dude, they did such a good job. We all knew what he looked like anyway from the Isaac Yankem days.
I had no idea what he looked like.
At that point, I mean, I kind of knew, and I knew he was fake Diesel. Like I was deep, you know what I mean? I'm like, I know what this guy looks like. I had the magazine with his face as a dentist drilling into Bret Hart. You know, this guy went from. But they did such a good job, even though I knew what he looked like. They mucked him up so much and had the weird burned hair. They did a great job. Yeah. Now, I didn't love the storyline around it with the Katie Vick stuff, but
God, no. Oh God.
Nope.
Look.
We'll get off wrestling, guys. Sorry.
As a 7-year-old, I had no idea what I was watching. Like I was so confused.
I was 20 something and I had no idea what I was watching.
I was just, you know, the weird thing about that, I remember coming back to it and like looking at it later. And I guess when I was a kid, I didn't realize that it was actually Triple H in a mask. When I was a kid, I thought it was actually Kane. I don't know why, but like I was just so many things going through my mind.
Yeah, like Jay's having real-time PTSD right here.
No, seriously.
That's awesome.
But the funny thing about it's so cool to like look at, you know, that Kane unmasking through different perspectives, because obviously like when I was younger, like wrestlers who wore masks, like that was sacred. Like me and my friends would talk about like, oh, like what do you think Kane looks like? You know, like what does Rey Mysterio look like? Like we had no idea. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't go see it. Like we were old enough to be discussing these things, but we weren't old enough to have like seen these.
Yeah, I lived through WCW.
Or back in WCW, where Ray
they ripped his mask, or he voluntarily took it off, which never happens with Lucha Libre. It was so bizarre.
And I remember when I found that video in like the 6th grade on like LimeWire, and I was just blown away. Like these are the types of things I'm looking up on LimeWire.
Is that what he was kind of rocking, like the blue camo Dudley Boy pants when he was part of the Filthy Animals? I think it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Wow. So I still have.
And yeah, I found the video clip. It was like 5 seconds long, and I'm like, "There's no way this is real." And I clicked it, and he just pulls his mask off. And
what's wild is with all those guys, like I don't know if you know, like Psychosis and like all these other guys that ended up being. I guess he ended up coming over. They ended up going to WWE. But what's wild? The Mexicools, yeah. They all were like handsome dudes. That was the surprising part. You know what I mean? Like they were all good-looking dudes. I always thought. Part of it was because not every luchador covers, if most of them do, but I'm like, if you're that good looking, like why are you hiding it. But I guess the merch,
It's
merch
just it's that superhero effect. Like Rey Mysterio, like as much as I love Rey, the mask was like pivotal to him. Like Rey would not be Rey without the mask. Just straight up.
I agree. It was a huge mistake taking off. I was just like, oh well, good for him. He's good looking under there. And I put the mask back.
Yeah.
Cool. Brent, anything from your topic list? We touched on wrestling. You had maybe some like
insider. Let me ask Sean something real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the only time I'll ever get to talk about this with someone because I don't find very many Lego and wrestling fans in the community. So I
think there's major crossover, Jay. I'm surprised there isn't more of it. I think there's a lot of appeal to both, but go ahead.
I was going to say, have you seen my Lego wrestling videos?
I let him know that they existed. I've been watching them just because I've been diving deeper into your archive.
I was working all day, Jay, up until this point. He sent me the link. I'll dive in and I'll DM you on Insta.
Dude, it's so much more like detailed than you would think it would be. Like it's incredible.
No, like if like
Jay,
I love getting wrestling fans' perspectives on it. Because you look at Lego wrestling and it's done kind of in like a cartoony way.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm in. But, so
dude, no, it was like that was my life.
I'm gonna send you.
That was everything, dude. Like over the summer, I'm like, I gotta record these episodes. I gotta write these scripts. I gotta like get these characters down pat.
Dude, it's full on.
So full on. So Jay, I'm gonna critique your booking. How about that?
That's what I would say if you're gonna critique the booking. Do it from like we'll talk about it. But there's a so at the beginning, I'm just kind of doing it. Like I'm a kid who just got a camera and I'm just filming whatever. Like I'm having like ladders and stuff. But like as it goes on, you can see I kind of like start. I'm like, oh, like I have something here. Like let me actually make a story out of this.
Well, when it like your early Lego wrestling videos, when it was like extreme Lego wrestling, you can see that it's like this is dated because of the technology. Yeah. But then like your newer ones that are like 6-7 years ago, it's like, dude, like you could, I mean, and I've seen people, especially like in the live chats and stuff, I see people bring it up and they're like, will you ever bring it back? And you're like, I just may.
I always tell people like if
it would be sick, Jay, real quick. So I don't know about you. So when I was a kid, everybody ended up in a wrestling league of all my toys, and I would wrestle the OG GI Joes. I would wrestle Luke. Would the lightsaber duels be damned? Luke was wrestling Vader. Because all I needed was a TV tray. I didn't even have a ring, but in my head I had a square. I remember vividly going on flights. I had family in London, and I would just bring like a duffel bag of all my dudes, and like the tray table was a perfect ring. Yeah. And so maybe you see where I'm going with this. Perhaps it doesn't have to, because we don't have the wrestlers. If you want to do a revival, and I'd be happy to like, I don't have your skills, but I could weigh in. It could be interesting. You could do an inter-promotional league. And what's great is your scale's all the same size of the minifigures. You could have some really interesting crossover battles.
So well, I mean,
you probably already did that, but
so surprisingly, I did. And it's funny you bring up you had a family in England. There was a guy. His name was Shane22 Shane. I'll never forget him. Actually, I'm on Facebook now. But we started talking over YouTube, back in the day when I was doing my Lego wrestling deal. And we had kind of like a cross-promotional deal going on where, like, I think he did like a pay-per-view, so to speak, and he had 2 of my wrestlers go over there. And then we were going to do a deal where like some of his wrestlers were going to invade my company.
You did a talent exchange? You did a talent exchange with them?
Yeah, we did a talent. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we drew up the contracts. We were good to go. At one point,
did you guys go over or what? What happened? Did you do even Steven booking? How did that work?
I feel like when I sent my guys over there, I think his guys went over. I don't remember what was the plan.
You went over on your show.
I was gonna say, like, one of the cool things we did though was we had like an awards show, and I filmed the whole thing because I had a bigger Lego collection, so I was
like a Slammies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we actually had the fans vote on it. So I found some website that let me do polls, and I sent out like we put like polls for like match of the year, wrestler of the year, team of the year, and we had like all of our collective fans go in and vote on it, and then based on those results, we like revealed it. at the award show. Like I was all in on this, dude. Like I was like, I don't know if anyone's ever like into wrestling as much as I have. And it's so funny you mentioned that because right here next to me, I have this Back to the Future box, but inside it is where I keep my Lego wrestling.
Oh,
stuff.
nice. See, I that looks familiar.
That looks like the No Holds Barred ring. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, love
with Zeus. Here's what's interesting, Jay. If I put myself back, like I'm 5 years old, and I didn't have access to all the wrestling sets, or I didn't have as much. Everything's a set now, right? But the wrestling rings and all that stuff. I would just be from what's available now. Yeah, it'd be cool to have. I'm just picking something out here, like Luke wrestle Peter Venkman randomly. That would be funny, like epic rap battles, but with Lego wrestling. But I think it would be more interesting because you're so passionate about like probably the character development and making your own dudes. I'm assuming you weren't just leveraging Boba Fett and putting him over everybody. Yeah, because I think a lot of people would. The CMFs to me, they just scream like hokey. You know what I mean? You could have like the ice cream cone guy, or some of the Batman villains, right? Like those guys could be really cool characters as far as like the comedic, the comedy relief, the Doink the Clowns, if you will. Like there could be a lot of like
Lego right now, especially, is so primed for that. Especially like everyone sees like the dual molded leg pieces, and they're like, "Oh, that's so good for like Star Wars boots." But for me, every time I look at those, I'm seeing like wrestler tights and boots,
right?
And it's so. It makes me so sad that, I've kind of got to a point where I'm not doing that, so I can't use it that way. But I feel like I'm still building up my collection. I always have in the back of my mind, like, if I've ever got in a position where, I'm fortunate enough to do YouTube just straight up full time, no job, no work, I would totally split it. Like, I would do like my mock stuff on the side, but I would love to, at least for some period of time, run an actual like Lego Wrestling Federation. And there's so many things built into YouTube right now that would be perfect for it. Like one of my dreams when I was younger was like, if you ever like watch a wrestling pay-per-view, you know how you go to the channel and there's like, the loop of like previews going on where they show all like the pre-match hype or whatever. And that just plays like all day.
The event center, the control center. Like there was always what do they used to call was it free for all was what they used to call it. Before AEW calls it the buy-in now. But yeah, basically
exactly.
It's a thing to sell you the pay-per-view. They would show 30 minutes of like interviews, and then they'd show you sort of the backstories of like why these dudes are fighting, just to get you all, and then they'd throw you one free match typically. And they get you all horned up to beg your mom like to buy this shit for $50, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
So like I think
free shows, that's awesome.
So and like YouTube is configured so perfectly for that. Like the fact that you can premiere stuff now, so you can effectively, have a show go live, every Thursday at whatever time, and you could pre-record it obviously if you're animating it. But there's just so many things like right now, and the way things are set up, and the way I know I can build with Lego, and the fact that I have a much higher budget than I did, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. That like I could do some pretty awesome stuff with a Lego Wrestling Federation now. So
hey, listen, if you need assistance with creative or a commentator, I would love to help you.
And that's the thing. I think if there was one thing that I always felt kind of held me back, it was the fact that I had to do the voices. And
I do so.
I had to. I always considered like I should just get my friends to do it. But my biggest concern was, one day they're not going to want to do it. And if I can't get them to do it, then the character's not going to have the right voice. I'm going to have to get rid of the character. So like, I was like, I don't want to.
My concern would be they'd tell everybody that I asked them to voice Lego figures.
I wasn't worried about that at all. I was.
No, I mean, in my day, like we had to be more covert.
And I was I was like, once you watch it, you'll totally get it. You'll be like,
no, I'm definitely. Yeah, no, I got a long ride, and then I got a flight to finally getting back to New York next week. So I'll download it and I'll start watching it. That is tremendous. And knowing like the quality that you put forth, and I know this was sort of a little bit back in the day, but I know it's going to be a good watch. Like, so I'm excited.
It'll be as someone who is
I'm saying it's probably going to make me long for you to revive
Yeah.
the league. So I can't wait, dude. I'm gonna consume a few to get started tonight, no doubt. Brent, go
Well,
ahead.
like coming from somebody who like I never was into wrestling as a kid. Like my dad was never into it. I had a couple cousins that were into it, but I was never really pushed into it. Going back like into the early Rich Boy J archives and watching him, because I only knew about him from seeing like his viewers mention it in live streams or whatever. And when I would finally go back and check him out, I was like, dude, this was no joke. Like this was not just like something to like look cool for 5 minutes of a video or something to be funny for a small clip of whatever. This was like a full on, like there was build-ups to the fights and everything. And like I said, like this is coming from someone who I can't really speak too much on the wrestling, but it was extremely legit. And especially for the time, like how it's crazy. And I can't like, obviously I can't speak too much on it because I don't know a whole lot about wrestling, but it was
I'm looking for
extremely
new
legit.
wrestling content. So
you will get a huge kick out of it.
Two things, I'm like I said, at this point, wrestling's like a past flame for me. Like I said, I kind of watch AEW. I do not watch WWE anymore. It's just unwatchable. It's heartbreaking because I watched it legit my first memory as a kid is watching Hogan beat Iron Sheik. Like I go back that long, and I just it's just so bad. So
it is sad, man.
It's just horrible now. And I don't know if it's because I'm too old or what, but people agree. I mean, the ratings are dwindling. Like, they care about the wrong things now. Like they put more into entrances, and that's cool, but they put more into that than the storylines, and like we don't care about the dudes anymore. We don't know anything about the dudes. I like that they're pushing the women. I think that's cool and that's interesting. And I do tune in for like a big like women's match because they're finally to the point where they're very good. Before it was just more like eye candy, but now they're like legit.
Right. Wasn't Ronda Rousey like involved?
Yeah, she was. She was actually surprisingly good too.
She was very good. And that's that was like that was my swan song. I was third row.
That tag match at Mania was so good. Oh my God.
That's the first one I missed in the 14-year. My daughter was born. So 34 I missed. No, but I went to 35 and I saw the first ever women's main event and from the third row.
That's cool. Gotcha.
Someone in the chat, Will said,
my chair's downstairs. I have the chair from the pay-per-view somewhere.
Will in the chat, I just wanted to point this out, said, just for once, I would like to see what The Rock is actually cooking.
This makes him sad, and he doesn't even care about wrestling. Yeah, it's a good thing to know.
No, it's straight up sad. Like,
we're jumping all over the place here. What are we've been riding Monkie Kid pretty hard lately on this channel. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd be very curious to know what you think about it.
Jay, again, my knowledge base is very small, but but I think that is peak Lego right now. That's the term I use. I think it is absolute peak Lego from a creativity, design, playability, quality. Yeah, the price is a little high, and I know that's like the big argument, but I think their big sets do have tremendous value. Sure. Curious to hear your take on Lego Kids. Probably hard for you to divest maybe into more other stuff, or that is a good question too. On top of this, yeah, dude,
yeah.
What are your thoughts on Lego Kid, Monkie Kid? Everyone knows you as the Star Wars guy. What else do you sort of vibe with, or is it strictly Star Wars?
So I'll give my opinion on Monkie Kid, and then we can talk about some of my extracurriculars. So this is interesting. This is the first time I've actually been straight up asked about Monkie Kid. From like a set perspective, I think there's a lot to be appreciated there. Like some of the sets are cool. Like they're interesting looking builds, and they make a lot of interesting pieces for them. Like I can appreciate it from like an artistic perspective. Like the sets don't look ugly. Like they have their own style, and I think that's cool. And a lot of the builds are things that are visually interesting. I think there's two big things holding Monkie Kid back. First thing is that it's obviously based on like that like Eastern mythology with like I guess Monkie Kid is like a thing like in Eastern Asia. And that just doesn't resonate with Americans well at all. I think certain like I don't know archetypes and just like popular aesthetics you can kind of get away with, and the stories kind of write themselves for little kids. I don't think that's necessarily the case with Monkey Kid. I think Monkey Kid kind of needs that show to make it like really catch on with kids, and the fact that the show just hasn't really happened here in the US, I think it's a big thing holding it back. The second thing about Monkey Kid, and this was like my first thought, and I think it's still kind of the case, it really looks just too much like Ninjago. It just does. Like
Someone just said in the chat, like it just seems like Ninjago to them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have no basis for Ninjago, so
if you really look into it, like like it can stand on its own just fine. But it could just be the case that Ninjago has just done so much now. Ninjago has reached into so many different genres and design aesthetics. But it really does just kind of look like secondary Ninjago. So I can't say it's something that really catches my eye. Like I don't like really look into it too hard.
It didn't catch our eyes for a long time, but we did have we had a Monkey Kid specialist, you could call him, on here on the show, and he really
opinion, I don't know if you know him. He's good.
He's on the rise. He's got a couple thousand followers.
What's his name?
My Brick Opinions.
It sounds vaguely familiar.
He's on the come up.
Yeah, he's doing well.
He's on the come up. We had him here on the channel when he was at like 1.9K, and he's like, so he's at like 2.2K. Like he's making his rise. Like he's involved with. It's weird. Like he's like a part of LAN, but not really. He's like involved with another channel that he like does reviews with
Jitsu.
Sure,
something.
It's like it's weird. Like I was, because I asked him, I was like, is it like a Beyond the Brick deal? Because like Brickwiz like does stuff with Beyond the Brick, or so it's like a collaborative thing. But it's obviously Lego has noticed that this kid is like pushing the hell out of Monkey Kid, and I like to see it, because I mean, so often it's like, you have your Lego YouTubers that are kind of fixed on a theme. You have your Harry Potters, your Star Wars, your Lego City, your Ninjago, or whatever. And it was just really interesting to kind of hear him break it. Like by the end of the podcast, I was like, I want Monkey Kid sets now. And,
cool.
and I have.
Well, I've been hyping it to you, and I'm like, let me bring on a ringer. My gateway set, Brett. Can you hold up the food truck again?
Food truck, absolutely. This is one I wanted. Even when it first came out, like before I knew anything about Monkey Kid, this was one that I really, really wanted.
That is a cool set.
I don't know if you've watched or if you have the time or interest to watch like one of those, 20-minute super dorky reviews, and just to see every square inch of what's going on one of these, but like just the creativity, and also like down to the manuals, dude. Like
the manuals do look cool. I will say
they're the coolest manuals. Like I think there's a big push now that's going to happen, because they finally were smart and got the damn thing on Amazon Prime, which was way too long. They should have done it at launch. So the animated series is out there, and as you know, that'll drive should drive sales. But
but you can get on
disproportionately
Netflix,
passionate about Monkey Kid.
Yeah, I feel like still
that's
so
the thing.
Many people
they should have just gave it to him. I don't.
There's still so many people that don't even know
they
that
make
it's on Amazon.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to hear your thought. Yeah, I mean, because you've been around a lot and have absorbed all the Ninjago stuff, and that's a fair comparison. I have never once looked at a Ninjago set because it didn't appeal to me.
Yeah, I mean, then the same. Like, I'm not really a Ninjago fan.
I can see where you're coming from on that, and I agree.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to unsee, right? It's kind of like that's going to be your take on it, but I don't know. Maybe want to break through and catch your fancy. So if it's not tickle your fancy, what are your extracurriculars? I think most guys, everyone knows you as the Star Wars mock king. What else? What do you tinker with just for fun on the side? Or
the modulars are a big one for me. I always tell people, like,
awesome.
If I could equally divide my time, the wrestling thing would obviously be it, Star Wars, and I want to build a Lego city. Like that was my childhood dream, and I still at some point would love to do it. It's like Lego. I feel like that, to me, a Lego city is peak Lego. Like that's just like, you think Lego, you just think Lego City. Like even more so than Star Wars. Like for whatever reason, like I just want to build my little city with my minifigures, and like have
That's fair.
my skyscrapers on this side, my neighborhood here, my airport, my stadium, all that good stuff. A Lego city is something I would love to do, but
I'm with you.
until then, because that's such a massive space commitment.
Right.
And now I'm at a position where I got to prioritize. Like I have to pick Star Wars or whatever else. And Star Wars is at the top of my list for the most part. So I buy all the modulars pretty much. There's still like a few of the older ones I'm missing. But that's a theme I consistently keep up with. I love the new one they just revealed.
We were going to talk about that.
Nice. It's just to die for. It might be my favorite modular, honestly.
See, Sean was a little split on it. I was like, I don't know if you're gonna like it.
Not for me. I'm gonna get it because I have to. Jay, I'm with you. I'm buying them when I can get my space to do it. I've got them all on ice. Like I'm with you because that is my dream. Like when I go to Target, I'll buy road plates, even though I'm not. You know what I mean? I'll just throw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll pick up the odd city set now and again. Like I can use an ice cream truck. Like I can use a tractor.
Exactly.
So I'm always having that
police car for decent. There was a decent police car this year for like $10. I'm like, let me grab 2 of those. Like those could be a thing. No, I'm with you. I guess I would say the thing I'm most passionate about. I want to do that, but for me, I want to take those and I want to make a Disneyland or a Disney World. I want to use the modulars as my main street. Yeah, there's people who have done that. The problem is though, like, I'm not a mock guy, and so, until they get cracking on Thunder Mountain and that kind of stuff, it's gonna be tough. But I do think you could still do a nice job because obviously they have the train set. You could have from the gate to the Cinderella Castle and everything in between, and that could be quite a scene itself, right? I mean, you'd go nuts on something like that. So, that would be cool. But it's like, how do you have Disney without the ride?
Exactly.
So you could put in a roller coaster, but that's not the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like, we need a haunted mansion. I think that has to happen. By the way, it's inexplicable why it hasn't.
Yeah,
that's a whole other topic. But that's my dream, is to build a Disneyland World type thing.
I actually love that you brought that up because throughout my childhood, I've always been enamored with like theme parks and building them. The one time I ventured outside of Lego as a kid when it came to like building system was Connects. I loved the Connects roller coasters. I had so much fun with those as a kid, and I also like when I build my city, like some sort of theme park or amusement park is a must. Like I will 100% be incorporating one of those into my city. I don't know if it necessarily would be Disneyland. I think I'd probably do kind of my own deal. I don't know, maybe do like Boyo Land or something like that.
Oh my god, make it happen. Kind of Let's
fun
go.
To like make up random mascots. And
you already have the Boyo Lounge. I could just drop it right in there.
Exactly. But yeah, like building like roller coasters, that would be cool. Guys like that. That would.
You use? So you mentioned you have because you like to sort of roll your own on a lot of this stuff. Would you would leverage though a little bit of like maybe some of the creator sets in there, or would you only build your own rides, or how would you do a bit of both, or what? How do you
I would only build my own rides. I would only do my own rides, even if I use like I don't know, like the carousel.
The modulars you're cool with buying. You're cool with buying the modulars. That's why I asked, because it seemed like if you made your city, you'd use the modulars.
So the modulars, like I really just kind of buy them because I think they look cool, and I would like if I guess I put it this way: if I build a Lego city, I wouldn't put the modulars in it. I would just keep the modulars for my own collection. My Lego city is just going to be like, like straight from here.
See, and that's.
Are you doing any investing whatsoever? Sorry, are you investing in it? Like, do you buy stuff to sock away, or not so much, or?
No, not at all. I don't like to kind of get in that mindset. I buy my Lego to enjoy it. I don't want to get to the place where I'm like, oh, like I need to sit on this and I need to sell this to a person, down the line.
Yeah, what up, Max?
It's all just going to go back to Lego anyways. So I don't know, like why not just buy stuff I want, I guess. That's kind of how I look at it. It'd also be really hard for me to part ways with Lego. Like, because there's always going to be that one thing where I'm like, damn it, I needed the pieces from that. Why did I sell that? So I have FOMO, and I don't want to get into
Right.
What do you
that,
think
like-
about people though that are buying like 2 sets that they know are winner? I'm not saying go hardcore and buy 30 gunships, but like, what do you think about the strategy of like buying 2 gunships and then being able to sort of subsidize the one you got at a later date?
I mean, I get why people do it. I can't.
You'd rather
help,
spend the 350 on something you could build. Yeah.
Sure that, but I
Yeah.
think in a more general sense, I feel like that mindset that is really like prevalent throughout the community nowadays, I feel like it's doing more harm than good, because everyone's trying to flip everything for an insane price. So if there's something that I want, and I want, like an old set, everyone's reading articles about how Lego's worth more than gold now. So people are trying to get insane prices for everything. Like, I mean, as
Right.
someone who's, trying to collect every Star Wars minifigure, the prices of those are just insane right now. And a lot of that is driven by that investor mindset in the community where everyone, like, if I bought it and it's Lego, I got to get like 3 times the value back down the line. And
Right.
I don't know, it takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. So
Gotcha.
I try not to contribute to that by being one of those people who, buys a set to sit on to sell at a later date. Because I know if I want something that's old, I don't want to pay a premium for it. So
right.
And it's something I can, actively change. Like, I'm going to have to deal with it either way. But I guess with most things I do, I try to be the change I want to see in the world. And,
Right.
and that's one of those things where I'm like, I'll
It's cool. I think it's here to stay to a degree, but I do think it's definitely a wave that we're on right now, with so many of those Lego channel investors. And I'm actually friends with a couple of them, and
we've had one on the show.
I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out on that kind of stuff, because I know for me personally, like, I was heavy into sneakers before that was really a thing as far as flipping. This is before bots. I used to line up, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I would buy the 2 pairs of J's knowing that because that was the only way I could afford it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it sounds crazy, right? But I would outlay 500 and bet on the fact that I would get, close to 500 for the 1 pair and mine would be free. Like, that kind of stuff I'm cool with. Yeah. Like I said, just to kind of like subsidize your hobby a little bit. And that's why I was asking, because I mean, you've been at it a long time, and I'm sure you've got duplicates at some stuff, and who knows, maybe one day, not to be one of those, ridiculous flipper as a career guys, but you're probably sitting on some gold, and maybe you'll tap into it one day if you want to. I don't know. Even open stuff, right? Some of the minifigs.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff I have, even if it's duplicates, I bought a duplicate of it because I wanted multiples of that figure.
Yeah.
I'm being straight up honest. Like, there's
that's cool.
there's things, huh?
No, I'm saying I'm not trying to talk you into being one. I'm just saying it's like it's you have a lot of cool stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
If you needed to, things happen.
I can say honestly, like, I never buy anything with the intention of like, oh, this is going to be worth some money down the line. The only time I'll do that is if it's something Star Wars, and maybe I don't think it's very cool, but I'm like, I don't want to like pay in. If I do decide I want it, I don't want to pay a high price for it later, so I'll just get it now. So I know I'm getting it for retail than waiting on it. But I think just in general, yeah, like the investor, I don't want to say it's ruining the hobby, but it's certainly making it a lot less fun. I think it's making it a lot harder for people who are new to get into it. I mean, and I've seen it like even just in these past few years where I've been, like I said, trying to collect all the Star Wars minifigures, and like everything is just insanely expensive now.
Crazy.
And
how far out are you on that mission?
I literally have like 110 minifigs to go out of like 1,200 total. So I'm like 90% complete, but so many of the ones that I've held out on and that weren't even that bad when I started are like 5 times the price they were when I started. So it's just like,
right,
like what can you do? And I don't know. I mean, there's nothing we can really do to change it, but I don't know. I want Lego to be fun. At the end of the day, I don't want people to look at this as something to exploit and get money out of and sit on and hoard. Like I want people to buy Lego because they enjoy it. And you're always gonna have your people who invest, but I don't know. The fact that investing's like popularized now because of like those articles that I think that really
Right.
that makes us pay the price for it. You know, like at the end of the day, like,
and
like,
Legos.
I think we're all getting hurt from that.
Yeah, and Legos definitely. I mean, inflation, a lot of things at work, but you know, they're definitely, obviously, with the acquisition of Bricklink, paying attention to that stuff too, right? And a lot of these set releases are directly, no one should kid themselves when they one of the reasons I think the gunship is out, we covered it a little bit earlier, is they saw it climbing in value in the secondary market, and they were like, oh, I bet this would do some good business. Look at how many eBay or Bricklink sales are happening on this thing at 5, 6, 7, whatever the price is.
Sure.
They're like, we could do a UCS for half of that. That'll sell, so yeah, I mean, it's a monster. It just depends. I do think a lot of these people that are doing it now were bored during the pandemic, quite frankly. And I think like the way any of this stuff works, even in the sneaker game, cream rises to the top. A lot of the OGs will probably stick around. A couple of the new blood will, but a lot of them will wash away.
Yeah. Sure. Well, it's like my whole thing too is like with the people that are so invested in the the Lego reselling thing. It's like, do they ever just build a set and enjoy themselves and have fun with it? Like if it's just so much like it's my business, it's just like,
yeah.
Like the other day, I usually always like build a set on a live stream, whatever. Like it's like, oh, this is a good time for me to do live stream. And like a week or so ago, I was like, you know what? I have 2 armored Marauders. I'm just gonna build this, and I'm not even gonna post a picture of it on Instagram. I'm just going to enjoy myself without streaming, without doing anything. And it was a great experience. It reminded me why I got back into Lego, because I was in a dark age for a long time. I don't have any of my childhood Lego. And I like streaming, and I like, interacting with my chat and doing all that stuff. But there, it was really nice to just step back and just build a set, not in front of a camera, not doing nothing, and just enjoy it for what it is. So
Jay loves that set, by the way. It's one of his favorite sets.
Oh yeah. Honestly, you're like,
do like that set. No,
your third
your adventures with that set,
dude. The third video he made, dude, I was dying laughing, like the epic, like dramatic, like walking into the target and be like, should I do, like, that was so funny, good.
Yeah, that was a really fun one to film. I'm trying to do more stuff like that where actually
you should.
I mean, I like, it's really easy to just be like, I have something I want to say. Let me just get in front of the camera and say it. But like, I love like acting and doing stuff like that. I mean, if you watch my live streams, you can tell like I can get pretty animated. So when I get an opportunity to kind of get to,
and I think that really helps like stand out from the crowd. Like my not to bring up my buddy who was in here earlier, but the House of Masks, my buddy AJ, he really stands out from, and it's a very niche community, the mask collecting community. He really stands out, and I believe a big reason like why he does so well. Like he has 125,000 subs, and like that's nothing compared to some of the channels that have like 1 million or whatever. But like for the mask community, that's huge, and a big reason for it is he's not just like, here's this mask, whatever, unbox this. He puts a lot of humor into his videos, and I love it for that. And so when I see someone like yourself or, a few of the other, Lego YouTubers that kind of sprinkle in humor, I love it when I see a video like he posted about, finally buying the Marauder and not getting ripped off, and the comedy in there, it's just refreshing. And I really love to see that. And I try to sprinkle in the comedy as much as I can whenever I feel like it's appropriate to my videos as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Comedy, keeping it fresh, keeping it fun and different from the rest of the crowd is something that I like a lot in the community.
Absolutely. Sure. I'm glad you really like that video. It's always good to get feedback like that.
Absolutely.
No, it was great. I enjoyed it myself for sure. Hey guys, we're at the 2-hour mark. Jay, you've been very generous with your time, sir.
Yeah, time flies. I didn't realize it was.
If you're open to it, sir, we would love to bring you back whenever you want. Maybe post holidays. Some point.
Absolutely. No, this has
been so fun. Yeah, I mean the amount we have in common is insane. I mean, it's you're like, wow, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm like, I'm glad you're glad I brought that up, because I'm passionate about that too. And I think, a lot of us are collectors, and we definitely have similar mindsets in a lot of ways. So that's why I was saying, like, yeah, is it weird for a wrestling fan to cross over with Lego? I guess you haven't run into that too much. That's surprising to me.
Yeah,
I know
I have maybe like 2 or 3 people I've met, and it's been cool because like at one point we got together and we watched like a live stream of maybe it was like SummerSlam one year or something. So that was like really cool to have all my Lego friends get together and watch wrestling. And also it always like kind of takes me back to those days where I was doing the Lego wrestling, which is something that I don't know. I can relate to very few people about, because like my wrestling fans, I could show them it and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's not real wrestling. And my Lego friends, they're like, oh, it's stop motion, but like I don't really care about wrestling. So when I find that intersection of Lego and wrestling fans, like that's the cream of the crop.
Yeah. Well, the more older, the more older and more cynical you get more into things like the booking and what went behind it and the backstage stuff. So I'll be like, Jay, why did you put this guy over? What was happening with that? Oh, I see why he did that. That's a newer fig. I'm gonna try to figure out like what was what was going into it and whatnot. Brent,
real quick, as someone who's into the booking side, have you played TEW by any chance?
Oh, please. Of course. Okay. Jay, we got so much to talk about. I ran an indie for 4 years in Orlando. Okay. Like,
oh my God, really?
I got Jake the Snake Roberts stories that'll probably not blow your mind, but they're really interesting.
This is why we got to have you back on.
I had Dexter Loomis from NXT. I don't know if you know him.
Exactly who that is. Yeah.
He's a really good friend. He was my world champion. So like
what?
Yeah. So I had him before. A lot of guys came through my little league. It's called Vintage Wrestling if you want to look it up, but out of Central Florida. I ran an indie. I was the commissioner role as far as on the show. But I was like a tweener, depending on the night. I didn't want to just ape the Vince McMahon thing.
Okay.
So
is it a vintage all-star wrestling?
Yeah, that it ended up morphing in that when I sold it off, there was a company called ASW and it was a hybrid. So the earlier stuff that's just vintage wrestling is me. There's a match or two of me when I had to get physically involved. Like, I don't even know if I told Brent all this, that I actually
I don't think so.
Sometimes.
Dude, you're like deep in the wrestling. Okay. Wow.
So you would have loved this. My character's name was Sean Solo because I thought that was so clever.
Okay.
Like, again, bringing it all together. But yeah, so we had a lot of names come through. You'd be surprised at how inexpensive some of them were back then, especially Jake.
I'm sure Jake will do anything.
Jake did it for a 12 pack and a hot dog. No, I'm glad he's doing well. No, I mean, I legit on my first show I booked him. He was $250.
Really?
Yeah, and he's like, just make sure there's beers back there, all right? And I'm like, all right.
Honestly, surprised he showed up.
Well, I was trying to, I agreed to get him his 12 pack, but I'm like, it's for after the match. Well, like 10 minutes before he was supposed to go out, we're like, where's Jake? He was out in his truck just hammering a 12 or a Coors Light. It was crazy.
Of course.
So, I mean, there's stories for days, but yeah, that was a good time. So, yeah, no, I'm gonna look at it through all kinds of different lenses here. I'm excited to see it. Either way, I know it's going to be great, and I'm so glad you did something like that. So badass. So
heck yeah, dude.
You got to check it out.
Cool. Brent, any closing thoughts before we wrap here, sir?
So just a couple closing things. I just wanted to kind of Jay, I don't know if you're familiar with Nardwar, the interviewer. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I kind of wanted to hit you with some things that maybe not the average Lego podcast would ask you about, like, oh, how did you get into Lego, whatever.
So Kane mask.
I'm gonna rapid fire you some things real quick, and you don't have to give too much, but real quick. 50 Cent, I Get Money. Does that ring a bell for you?
Yeah, I did a SpongeBob.
Did you? No, yeah, like a meme, pretty much, like a voiceover kind of.
Yeah.
So
that was the wave back in the day,
dude. I swear I saw that before I knew who you were.
Really?
And I don't know if someone stole it and like put it somewhere. But as soon as I was going through your old archive and I saw that, it's hilarious, Sean.
Yep.
I'll have to send you the link, but it's 50 Cent, I Get Money with SpongeBob clips, and it just goes with it perfect, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
This is crazy.
That was the wave back in, like that. There was like a whole YouTube wave of like.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that was the best. Well, Many Men maybe, but that was my favorite.
Many Men's my favorite 50 song.
I Get Money though was like
Money was dope.
it was top 3. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that
If
was
you
on.
love 50 Cent, you will love my Lego wrestling.
All right.
videos.
Oh my god, dude, this is getting too
See,
crazy.
I gotta dive more into the Lego wrestling videos.
All right,
myself.
Brent, keep hitting them. I got to wrap soon, dude. Sorry.
No problem. So Young Thug, I know you're big into Young Thug because I was going through your liked videos.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was just going through the videos
I
you'd
forget-
liked.
I often forget those are public.
Oh yeah. All right. So another one.
We're reaching creeper status, Brent. What are you doing?
Well, I just
No, this is fun. This is
I wanted a
fun.
deep
It's
dive.
good research, right? It's for research.
Sean, I think I sent Sean the link to this, but I'll have to have him watch this because it's just hilarious to see. Buy protein. Can you sell me some of that?
High school project. That was a high school.
I had a feeling it was a high school thing. That's nice.
I don't remember why I don't remember like what class, but yeah, that was a high school
My
project.
buddies did a thing where it was like the widget band, and you would like put it on, and it was so funny. They like did a thing, you put it on, and they had a 10-foot, or he didn't have it on, 10-foot rim, couldn't dunk. He's like, put on the widget band, and then they lowered the rim, and he was like dunking.
Yeah.
It's just stupid stuff. And
Oh
then,
my god, do you remember those days where you'd go to the mall and they put the wristband on you and be like, oh, it's like the Equilibrium brand. Like you put your arms out, they can't. Okay, anyway.
right.
In my day, they sold those stilted shoes, and told you to like jump with them, and it would give you more hops. Yeah,
There used to be like that bracelet you would put on with and it had like the little ball thing.
That's
right
what
there.
I'm saying. Yeah,
That's the thing you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
They're like $50, and they're like, this will clean out your blood and make you
right.
pure.
This will literally make you into a freaking
a
god.
Sith Lord.
And then two videos I saw you did 2 of these, and it really just took me back to being a kid. The Random Wars.
I knew you were gonna say that.
The Random Wars.
That was something I feel I had going on with classmates where we
okay.
I don't know, man. We were just doing anything. Like you get a video camera. So that's the thing. Kids don't understand. Like when I was young and you got a hold of a video camera, like that was everything. You're like, okay, every idea I've ever had, like let's see what I can do with this.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a big.
My sister we had the camcorder that you put the tapes in, and you put it in a VHS, and that's how you would like rewatch it.
Yep.
And I think I was gonna bring up Extreme Lego Wrestling. We covered that, obviously. The Minnesota Wrestling or Minnesota Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
So what's crazy, and I when I went back and realized that your like bottom corner logo for your videos is still that. So I don't know.
I think
so. Sean, if you watch, you'll see.
It. No one ever asked
MC
about
Dub,
it, and I always like.
Yeah.
I need to change it because there's no reason for it to still be there. But I just never
like it though. It's like an Easter egg.
Dude, no, that's a dope
Easter egg. Yeah.
No, it's a dope Easter egg. Don't.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that. Don't bring it to his attention, Brent. That's fun stuff.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I honestly forgot that was there until you just mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a few other things, but we are going on like an over 2 hours now. But it's been a good time, guys.
No, Jay, we're cool. We'll do this again, man. We'll hit you up whenever it's convenient. Post holidays, there'll be some. Maybe it'd be fun, Jay. I'm not asking you to commit right now, but it'd be fun to maybe when the winter wave has come out a little bit, it'd be kind of cool to review that with you and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. You mean the summer wave? Or no, I know what you're talking about. The Jan 1 wave.
Jan 1st stuff. Once it hits and maybe you get some of it in hand, I'd love to hear his thoughts, and we can but we'll do that for a little bit, then we'll talk nerd stuff the rest of the time. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I'm down.
Cool, man. All right. Well. This has been an incredible episode. So much fun. It should be illegal, quite frankly, but for my very special guest, Jay, thanks again for your time, sir. For my incomparable co-host, Brent from Brent Bricks, I am Sean the Right Way. And this right here, this little silly thing we do, has been... I'm going to let it ride a little bit. You got your shades, dude?
Oh, yeah.
A couple of brickheads. We'll see you guys next week. Regular time on Thursdays. Jay's gonna be back. It was a great time. You guys have a happy holiday season. Be safe on those roads out there. It's getting crazy. And like Brent says, never stop building, right, Brent? Hit him with it.
Never stop building.
Peace.